Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness and Recovery with Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Thank you so much for looking forward to coming to the stream. Hello there, Jackie. Lots of love to you. This is going to be revisited of Gracie and Grant Solomon with some extra stuff on her too. Uh-oh, I got to go ahead and get that brand off of there. Comment. There we go. Okay. So please like, subscribe, and share. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. I got a heap of Bible verses that we should go over as well. Like in Isaiah 1:17, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. So many people, Christians, try to tell us, oh, it's ungodly for us to do anything. But there it says, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed. So that's God's words. So we're doing God's work. Proverbs 28, verse 5 Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18, verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. We go on to Matthew 18, verse 10. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. In Colossians 3:21, fathers, do not embitter your children, for they will become discouraged. Amen. Good to see you. See, hi there. Okay, so go back through here. I'm glad that y'all are doing good. Good to see you too, Jackie. Thank you. Glad you're revisiting this about Grant and Gracie. You're welcome. It needs out there, doesn't it? You have not heard of this case yet? It's going to be devastating. You haven't, I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. It's horrific. I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Just not feeling my best, but we must get this out there, right? Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So I'll make sure to have that scrolling at the bottom of the screen about trigger warning. I will have that down there. I may have, but it's yet it doesn't ring a bell. Well, okay. So I'll go ahead and we'll start off, I guess, with the extremely dark allegations swirling former local TV personality. So we'll start off going over that. There'll be some times when I have to put the audio going. Okay. Oh, no, get out there. Present, share screen. As I said, fair use, because this is for educational reasons. The extremely dark allegations swirling around a former local TV personality. How a teen's claims of sexual abuse and murder went from YouTube to the courts. is a screenshot from Gracie Solomon's YouTube video about her father. Okay, let me see if I can see if that's it right there. Let's see. I want to make sure that I got Freedom for Gracie on here right quick so that we will go ahead. Uh-oh, YouTube, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and do the Freedom for Gracie, which I know. So y'all see that she's got a YouTube channel. You see there? So please follow her as well. Okay, so first I will go and I need to change the settings so y'all will be able to hear this little girl, okay? I don't mind showing y'all how to go about doing this if you ever had a StreamYard account. Let me go back to the beginning.
My name is Gracie Solomon. I'm 14 years old, and I'm here to tell my story. I just want to say before we get into any of this that it's coming straight from me. It's all me, and no one else is telling me what to do. My brother died protecting me from my father, Aaron Solomon. My father's a monster. It makes me want to vomit. I've been minimalized, but now I've found my voice to be able to tell you that my father raped me, hurt me, and I'm not going to be a victim of this monster. He's a rapist, he's a molester, he's a liar, and he's a killer. I hate my dad. I'm absolutely terrified of him for everything he has done to me, my brother, and my mom. I don't want to call him my dad anymore. He's never listened to me. He has hurt me sexually, physically, and mentally. He has caused so much pain for my family. He has tried to manipulate me and has manipulated others, and it has worked. Ever since I was born, my dad has done awful things to me. First, he never let my mom bathe me. It was always him. So by not letting my mom come in at all, it meant that he could do anything to me. I would always tell my mom I felt like I was more like a wife to him instead of his daughter. He would always bring his phone to the bathroom with him. At the time, I didn't know it, but I strongly believe he was taking pictures and videos. I had to learn to hide my body from him by flipping my hair over because he wouldn't leave me alone while I was showering or getting out. He would make excuses like me needing a towel or my hair was hard for me to wash on my own. So he would be able to help me. He was a sick person. After showering, he would sit me down in his lap with only a towel to brush my hair. He brushed through my hair so aggressively I would sometimes cry. I had terrible scars from that, and I even remember taking a bath as a young kid, probably first grade, and him washing me with the Dove bar soap completely up and inside of my privates. I know now that it was probably his hand, but I was too young to know any better. All of my grandparents knew about the abuse and still supported him. When I was at his house at night, I would sometimes feel like I couldn't control my body, or I would get sleepy and wake up in my dad's bed. One night I woke up with rashes on my inner thighs, both, and my privates also burned frequently. One of Grant's friends remembers looking over the upstairs railing and seeing my head slung over, and Dad wrapping me in his lap. Sorry. Every night, my dad would lock his bedroom door. Sometimes I was sick or crying, most of the time probably missing my mom so much, and I would bang on his door and scream for him. He never answered. While I lived with him in 4th grade, I practically broke my back by falling and hitting the edge of a concrete culvert and big rocks. It was almost impossible to walk for a while. He didn't care enough to even take me to the doctors. I have records now of how bad my back was injured, 3 years later from the incident. In the car, if we said something that made him mad, he would speed up really fast, and it would scare me and Grant. Dad is super manipulative and has manipulated so many people. He even tries to convince me that I am being brainwashed by my mom and everything I remember never happened. He tries to scare me into thinking my mom's house is unsafe. He knows how scared I am of robberies and kidnapping or getting taken from my mom. In fact, he took me away from my mom for years when I was just ending my kindergarten year. Later on, he told me that I was never going back to my mom and that she was actually dead. I don't remember when I found out that she was alive, but I know Grant and I both believe she was dead for years because of him. One time at my grandparents' house, my dad's parents, I remember hearing my grandpa say to Grant that he wanted to kill my mom. It made Grant so mad he started throwing stuff in the room. And I was so hurt and started crying. After I was finally able to start seeing Mom again, my dad got mad because we didn't want to leave her. When the cops showed up, they told Grant and I that we had to leave in the cop car and Mom couldn't be the one to take us. They said my dad specifically asked for us to be taken in the cop car so we would learn to not disobey him again. My mom filed for an emergency court hearing to get us back. We were in North Carolina for one of Grant's baseball tournaments when my dad said we had to go back home for court. It was only my dad and I. Grant stayed. We stopped at a hotel room in Asheville. My dad only got one bed when I had asked for 2. It made me really nervous before we even got in a hotel room. When we went to bed, I remember him slowly getting closer to me until I was on the edge of the bed. I kept waking up by feeling his feet rub against mine. I kept waking up and then finally realized I felt something hard on my lower back, close to my butt. I drew an illustration of what it was like. I felt really scared and knew it was wrong. At court, Dad's attorney got inches away from my face and tried to manipulate me into thinking what my dad did to me didn't really happen by saying, "Do you really think your dad would do something like that? Do you actually remember that happening?" He was so close to me that I could smell his cigarette breath, and his tone really scared me. When I learned I had to go back to North Carolina with my dad, I was completely broken and didn't want to stop hugging my mom. He told my dad to pull me off of her and leave because he could. I eventually was able to go to family therapy, sometimes with my dad and Grant. One time I told Grant he could leave the room because he would always be there for me. I told him I was terrified of him being at my school and trying to get me. He got so mad. He reached to throw a chair at me, but ended up storming out of the room. He was screaming and his face was blood red. My counselor tried to calm him down. Through therapy, I have set boundaries with my dad so that I would feel better. Over the past couple of years, he has respected my boundaries, surprisingly. Now, ever since Grant passed, he ignores everything I have said. He is trying to force me to come live with him this Sunday. I am so terrified of him. I'm so scared. I can't go in general or without Grant. I'm not going. I begged him in counseling to never do this, and he promised me he would never try to take me again. He is a liar. I'm so scared of Dad. I've seen him do terrible things to people I love and myself. Because of this, I strongly believe he killed Grant, and now he's going to kill me. Grant and my dad never had a good father-son relationship because of my dad. Dad would always harm, threaten, scare, and stress Grant out so badly. Before my dad took us from my mom, Grant and I were scared of Dad because of his ridiculous and terrifying behavior. From trying to kill my mom and constantly yelling at her, to freaking us out from all the things he has done to us and our mom. When he took us, he was just as mean and hurtful as he is now. One of the things Grant said when Dad tried to kill her was, "When I'm 6'4", you will not be able to do this anymore." I have always thought about that so much. Grant meant that, and he was scared and so hurt by his dad. That is just awful, and Grant was so young. Dad is controlling in many ways. One way was by giving Indian sunburns and telling him that he would always have control over Grant. Dad would just scream at Grant, like I could hear it from everywhere in the house. It was awful. One time Grant and I were watching TV together, and all of a sudden Dad comes up and grabs Grant by his shirt, pulls him up, and just yells at him in his face. It was so bad to watch. Dad would get into Grant's head so much. He would limit food and call him fat, criticize him just to the point where Grant would feel so awful. Dad would limit the time Grant had in the bathroom, on his phone, etc. Why the bathroom? Dad would keep our phones in his bathroom, which is locked, in his bedroom that is also locked. Dad never wanted Grant to be around Hannah, his girlfriend, or any of his friends. My dad even kept college letters and threw away some of the ones he didn't like. One of those multiple could have been what Grant wanted. Dad only wanted him to go to Ivy League schools. Dad also used Grant's truck as a way to control him too. Grant was so scared of him. He would apologize so much that if he did anything wrong, like if he was late to hit or if he was too sick, he was scared Dad would get mad. Even if he missed a day of school, the whole rest of the time he was worried about Dad. The day my dad took us, Grant tried to get out of the car to jump out to get back to Mom. When he tried, Dad grabbed Grant's wrist so tight, Grant thought it broke. And recently still, I would notice Grant touching that same wrist. Grant had a plan to run away with me, so we did. We got a few things together and went to our mom's house. Dad is and was an awful dad to Grant. I would never want Grant to even have to know somebody like him, and I'm happy for Grant, because he will never have to deal with him ever again. Dad would take any or all of his anger out on Grant, anger outbursts. He made Grant train all the time and never had a break, and visit lots of schools. Dad would stalk Grant and come to every single practice, training, tryouts, just literally about anything. Grant was even scared enough to open up to Pastor Steve about help for our family, Grant, Mom, and I. Pastor Steve and Dad lied and said Grant wanted to talk about his faith and strengthening his faith. That was said during the funeral. Even though Mom and I have always known he went for help because he told us. Grant was my protector and my mom's. I didn't realize how much he protected us. However, now that he's gone, my dad is attacking me again. one of Grant's great friends, told me that Grant had plans to reopen and testify for me and him again in court as an adult. A month after his 18th birthday, he had mysteriously died. I want my dad gone. This was from November 24th, 2020. I want zero contact with him, mail, text, in person, etc. Every time he contacts me, I can't get over it, and my focus in school and out is always disrupted because of all his texts and mail. I don't want him at school or games. I get so scared when he's around, and I feel trapped. I can't even go get a drink or go to see a friend or anything because he's right there on the bottom row. On November 19th, there was a basketball game. He got to the girls' game an hour early and was filming them, as well as almost coming in contact with me, at least 10 feet away and coming. By sneaking out, then the police left because they thought he was gone. So then my dad came back into the gym, and that's when he almost approached me. The school has forced me to go with him before, and I do not need him there. It's terrifying. I know what he's capable of, and that is what scares me. He has traumatized me. I don't want it to be like this anymore. He needs to stop. Sometimes I'll even check behind curtains downstairs because I think he is there. He has violated the restraining order countless times. I'm not even going to the games anymore to see my brother be honored because of him, and it's not fair. I want custody completely flipped to my mom. She will show him medical records that she is clearly not mentally ill. She has never gotten to show those in court. It's all just lies. I want no contact, period. He makes everything so hard, and it's so scary, and someone needs to stop him. I need an order of protection. I've tried to get one with the sheriff's department, even though he will just break it. I really need someone to do something. I need my own attorney. My guardian ad litem isn't even talking to me, and she's doing things and saying things that I disagree with. No one in this court has listened to me or Grant, and that is why he is gone. So please, I really need someone to listen to me. This is from October 21st, 2020. Ever since Grant, my brother, passed 3 months ago yesterday, my dad, Aaron Solomon, has been stalking us and just coming at us by throwing away and forgetting about boundaries I had set. I set boundaries for myself a while back, and he pretty much went by those for almost 2 years. But right when Grant died, he came after me. He literally just entered himself into our home and was hugging me and playing with my hair. I hated when he did that. It makes me gag, and it makes me think of the things that he has done to me. Soon after he said that he was coming to get me. He has taken me away from my mom multiple times, and he has used the police to take me. It scared me so bad. He hasn't left me alone, and he has even contacted my friends and close people by sending videos of them. He even filmed up the homecoming court's dresses. It makes me sick seeing him or talking about him. It's so messed up. We recently got a restraining order put in place, but he has been violating it a lot. He isn't supposed to contact me, but he has been. He is coming to school a lot, and it scares me so much. I haven't been able to go to school because of how scared I am of him. What makes me even more scared is that I've witnessed how mad he gets, and when he's mad, I know he's really mad. I know he killed my brother, and now I'm scared of him coming near me or coming to get me again, or hurt any of us. This is an essay I wrote about what I want to do in the future, and it's about the FBI. The career I want to pursue is to be in the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I know that this is something I want to be a part of, and I have a few reasons behind this. I want to be in the FBI to help the innocent. I can use my thoughts, and it is just something that I really, really want to be, because it is extremely empowering. Helping others makes me feel content and happy. I want to feel that, and I want to make others feel better. I also want to be in the FBI to give justice to those people who have done. I have not received that. And eventually, when I do, I want to give back and help others. Well, I mentioned that I want to help others, especially women and children in the same situation, and I want justice for myself and my brother and my mom. Family. Granted, running. Running's a big thing. I love track. And just friends, just in God. He's helped me through all of it, so. Well, God, it's just, He's answered everything, honestly. And maybe that sounds cliche, but I mean it. He does. And I've seen signs recently, and now it's kind of granted God. So. I'd like to go to UT and run track. That's something that I really want to do, and maybe I can go ahead and look into being an advocate. I don't know how long the classes are for being an FBI, but that would be amazing. For me, freedom looks like just that non-stop feeling of fear just goes away. And I've always wanted to just be a normal teenager, and hopefully that's maybe soon. But to me, just all my problems went away, and just just being, I guess.
So that's just one of the first videos, but there's more to share. This is very devastating. And let me share also where you can go to change.org. Share the screen. Da, da, da. Here is the petition to investigate Grant Solomon's bizarre, unexplained death. This is where it's a Grant Solomon died early on the morning of July the 20th, 2020. The only witness was his father, Aaron, who says that Grant was run over by his own car in a freak accident. Nothing about this narrative makes sense. No real investigation was ever completed. The medical examiner's report shows blunt force trauma to the head and bruises, which does not match Aaron's narrative that he was dragged across a parking lot into a rocky ditch. Grant and his father had a rocky relationship, and he had alleged abuse in the past. CPS is required to investigate the death of any child in their system, but Grant died only weeks after his 18th birthday. His clothing and shoes did not have a scratch on them. Aaron's story continues to change. The 911 call, in which he mentions three mysterious men who never came forward, is difficult to listen to as Aaron refuses to go near his son. He refused to have the truck examined and allegedly committed insurance fraud to try and get rid of it. It's hard to imagine a father could do this, but all we ask is for a fair, thorough, and unbiased investigation. There's more than enough cause for an investigation. That's all we are asking for with this petition. If Mr. Solomon had nothing to do with the alleged accident, he should welcome the investigation. Our goal is to raise 10,000 signatures to share with the state, federal, and local authorities. Thanks for sharing. And right here, it's got 28,000. I will go ahead and post it in this comment section. Let's see. That's where that is at, where the petition. Okay. So now I will need to mute my mic again because Aaron Solomon was the only witness to his son's death. This is the what he called the 911 911. So let me change the settings again.
It's 1357 South Water Street. It's off 109. Please hurry.
You said 57?
Please hurry.
Okay, what's going on?
1357. My son's truck backed over him, and it's rolled over him and dragged him into the ditch, and it's on top of him. He's trapped under the truck, and somehow it drug him underneath it. Yes, my son is under it. I'm trying to call 911.
Okay, what's your name?
Oh my God. My name is Aaron Solomon.
And you said
Oh
you're
my God.
at 1357 South Water Avenue, right?
Yes.
How old
Yes.
is the male?
He's 18. He just turned 18 a couple weeks, about a month ago. It's my son. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is not good.
Is he awake and
Oh,
talking
please hurry.
to you?
I don't think so. He's not alert, right? No, he's out. And he's trapped. I got 3 guys here, and he's trapped under the truck.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I understand, sir. Stay on the phone with me while we get somebody out there. What's your name?
Aaron Solomon.
All right, Aaron.
Huh?
What kind of vehicle is it?
It's a Toyota Tacoma, and the vehicle he's underneath the vehicle.
Okay, I've got that.
And it's.
Okay, I've got that. What color is it?
It's a white truck. That's my son. It's somehow it backed up. Yeah. Yeah, I'm on with 911 right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Was your son working on it?
No, he was just getting out of it. It's the hill. We're on an incline, and I guess he didn't have it in park or something, or it wasn't engaged, or. Oh my God. Oh my God, I can't believe
Is your son still not
this.
responding?
No.
And he's still
No.
under truck. No one can get him
Yes.
out from under it. We've got units en route to you. I'm just asking you questions for we can update them, okay? Can you check and see if he's breathing?
Somebody's telling me that he's coming to.
Okay,
Maybe.
He is waking up.
Maybe.
Kind of keeping still. So he is
Well, he
breathing?
can't. Yeah, he can't move. I don't think he can move. I don't know.
Okay, I understand.
No, he can't move. He's trapped.
Okay, we got somebody en route. Now, when he wakes up, he might be
telling
scared.
Him, man.
Can somebody just
I'm
get
telling
down
him.
there and talk to him?
Yeah, somebody talked to him. Shit. There's blood. Is he facing up or down? He's facing up. They said he may aspirate. We need to hurry. Oh my God.
So does he have blood coming out of his mouth?
Yeah, there's blood coming out. Yeah, somehow it drug him down, I think. I don't know whether it wasn't in park or what, or if it didn't engage the brake, or it drug him underneath somehow.
Okay.
They said he's facing up.
Okay.
But he's bleeding from his mouth. So, Grant, turn your face to the side if you can, barely, but be careful.
Don't move him, okay?
We can't move him. We can't move him. Oh my God.
All right, Deason, they're there. I'm going to let you go, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye. London County.
I'm trying.
Where's your emergency?
It's 1357 South Water Street. It's off 109. Please hurry.
You said 57?
Please hurry.
This is devastating, y'all. This is horrible. It's like the extremely dark allegations swirling around a former local TV personality. And it says she's deadly serious. Um, one thing, let's go over this. We show a lot of the people involved who did nothing but supporting the father, basically. So this person that did this, I don't believe you, Mrs. Solomon. It's on gaslighting, spiritual abuse, and murder in the South. Gracie Solomon, aged just 14, and her mother, Angelia Hupinus, have found themselves in an extremely precarious position. Not only, they say, were they abused and betrayed by those they trusted, but also robbed of their beloved brother and son Grant, and shunned and silenced by the community they used to call home. He was a handsome looking guy, wasn't he? And see, and she worked in a pharmacist as a pharmacist. Well, she has told close confidants about the alleged abuse for as long as she can remember. It was a public allegation Gracie made against her father, Aaron Solomon, that led many to turn their backs on Gracie and the mother. Among those who dismissed their plight was former friends, teachers, church elders, the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, DCS, and several judges. Not only DCS, not only judges, but Governor Bill Lee of the state of Tennessee. He goes to this church too. Governor Bill Lee is discounting this girl. Please do not vote for Governor Bill Lee again. Also, Senator Jack Johnson is a part of it, and Judge Deanna Johnson as well. She decided to stand with Angelia and Gracie. One of them was Grant Solomon. As Gracie's big brother and Angelia's only son, he always did his best to protect them. Despite his extremely difficult home life, Grant was, by all accounts, a formidable young man, intelligent, funny, kind, and loyal. He told Gracie that once he was 18, he would be able to file against their father, that the courts will lend him more credence this time, that he would finally be able to get them both out of their father's house. Grant Solomon died not even a month after his 18th birthday in an alleged single vehicle accident. His father, Aaron Solomon, was the only witness. Here's the person right there. The sins of the father. According to the affidavit Grant Solomon filed, Aaron began sexually abusing his daughter when she was only around 6 years old. At that time, Gracie recalls her father touching her in a sexual way while bathing her and penetrating her digitally as well as with a bar of soap. If anybody don't understand what digitally means, that means with the fingers. Your fingers are known as digits, okay? According to the affidavit, when Gracie was 11, this abuse escalated to rape. But according to both Angelia and Gracie's testimony, Aaron also abused his family emotionally and physically. They both stated in various documents that Aaron would mistreat them, hurt them physically, psychologically, and emotionally, and behave in a manipulative and controlling ways towards them. After Angelia finally sought a divorce from her husband, he also started withholding their mother from the children, and according to the children's psychiatrist's statement at one point, even told Grant and Gracie that their mother had died. There he is. There's a sorry piece of crap. He worked for a news channel also in Nashville. Parallel realities the Solomons live is best exemplified by examining the moment their marriage ended. According to Angelia's statements to three separate medical professionals who examined her after the fact, Aaron tried to strangle her in a fit of rage using the electrical cord of a hairdryer. She further stated that the alleged assault took place after she and her children had decided to seek shelter from his abusive outbursts, locking themselves in the master bedroom of the house. Gracie concurred with this in her video as well as in her affidavit stating that Aaron has hurt my mom a lot. In his version of the story provided in his statement to the hospital that treated Angelia, Aaron acknowledged that his family had taken to sleeping in the same room together without him. He explains this was with an eye surgery that Gracie had and says that Grant had started sleeping in the master bedroom as well to keep his little sister company. However, he claimed that Angelia had tried to commit suicide by hanging herself with the electrical cord off of the shower head, that when he tried to save her, she got violent, and that the incident was caused by Angelia shopping too much. Caused by her shopping too much? That sounds like you were trying to get her for shopping too much. Not her. She made her own money. She worked at a pharmacy. She was able to provide for herself and buy what she wanted and needed. Well, no one can say for certain what happened except for Aaron, Gracie, and Angelia. The psychiatrist Angelia talked to unanimously found her to be credible. It should also be noted that although those who suffer with suicidal thoughts do not always act rationally, it'd be rather hard to hang yourself from a shower head that's lower than you are and not exactly load bearing. The shower head was smaller than her? Wow. The death of Grant Solomon. But the emotional, physical, and sexual abuse Gracie and Angelia accuse Aaron of is not the only sin he may have to contend with. Perhaps the most heinous crime anyone could commit is to murder their own child. While we will perhaps never know for sure who or what happened Grant Solomon's death, many unanswered questions surround it. Several statements made to the guardian ad litem, to Angelia, and to the children's psychiatrist suggest that Aaron's only interest in Grant was as a baseball player, a status symbol reflected on his excellence as a parent. The Guardian ad litem report also states that Grant felt controlled and manipulated by his father, up to the point where Aaron would control when his son could go to the bathroom. What? Additionally, the testimony submitted by his friends and family to the Freedom for Gracie Instagram suggests that he was afraid of his father and that he felt great responsibility for protecting his little sister and his mom. Oh, look at him with a doggy. So cute. We need justice for you, Grant. You did not deserve any of this. Incidents like the one that allegedly took Grant's life are professionally referred to as the single vehicle rollaways. While proof of any kind is rare in this situation, it should be noted that in an analysis of single vehicle accidents by the NHTSA, only 6% of all single vehicle accidents examined were rollaways that did not involve an obstacle of some kind. These kinds of accidents can often be caused by faulty cars, but since Aaron declined any investigation of the car that killed his son, we can't know if this is the case. Furthermore, Aaron also declined an autopsy for his son. Under different circumstances, this would be understandable, but according to the hospital records, Grant's injuries are inconsistent with being dragged by a truck, showing one blunt force injury to the back of the head, as well as a bruise on its lower left side and a bruise to its left cheek. However, the chart shows none of the injuries typical of getting dragged. There were no scratches, cuts, or abrasions to his back or legs. Well, we don't have any statement suggesting that Aaron regularly physically abused his son. There's ample evidence to suggest that he is narcissistic and prone to uncontrollable fits of rage. Aaron's very limited statements as to how the accident occurred are also inconclusive at best. I created a timeline to visualize the events leading to Grant's death, which you can find in this link bin below. As is so often the case when it comes to allegations against Aaron Solomon, Gallatin Police Department opened and shut the case. When Angie asked for it to be reopened due to the many unresolved questions surrounding the incidents and the overwhelming grief of not knowing what or who killed her son, Gallatin Police Department flat out refused. Yes, rest in peace. Yep. Father needs question big time. They already know he lies. Wonder if any's around for the accident happened. That's what I wonder too. Betrayal of trust. Although so far one might perceive Aaron to be rather unlikable, he has many friends. Most of those friends occupy positions of power and influence in realms of church, law enforcement, government, media, education, and nonprofit social work, where the nonprofit social work is with Our Kids Tennessee, which is supposed to help protect people from the pedophiles. And yet, he is a part of that and allowed to keep coming back, even though they said he's not a part of the organization no more, but he's still allowed to go to the meetings. Perhaps most prominently, Aaron attends the same fundamentalist church as Tennessee Governor Bill Lee. Did y'all see that? As governor, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee. I told y'all. While this church, Grace Chapel, has stated in a cease and desist issued to writer Shannon Ashley that proper membership in their church is predicated upon completion of some class or other. Aaron did not go to church there for many years. He also sent both of his children to Grace Christian Academy, a separate legal entity that resides on the same campus, shares some buildings, subscribes to the same theological values, whose teachers and students also attend Grace Chapel. Now here is with Governor Bill Lee. Grace Chapel was until recently pastored by a man named Steve Berger, who on January the 17th announced that he was resigning as part of a 3-year plan of stepping down. He insists he had nothing to do with this attendance of the January 6th Capitol insurrection and the ensuing change.org petition for him to resign. In the aforementioned cease and desist, Grace Chapel also insisted that Steve Berger and Steve Berger Ministries are entirely separate entities, and legally speaking, They probably are. However, as a founding pastor of Grace Chapel and a past partner in the founding of Grace Christian Academy, it is clear that the beliefs and teachings of Steve Berger have greatly influenced both of these institutions. This triune, legally distinct construct of school, church, and pastor all claim to have not known anything about any abuse, which evidence would seem to Gracie's mother, Gracie's mother has released emails and text messages she exchanged with Grace Christian Academy and other sources that testified on the Instagram page concurred that sexualized violence and abuse was at best ignored by the private school and at worst encouraged. One source claims that the headmaster, Robbie Mason, even bragged about meeting his wife Dabney, when he was her basketball coach and she was 15 years old. Y'all see that? Claims that the headmaster bragged about meeting his wife that was 15 years old when he was a basketball coach. See? What we can say for certain, however, is that they never reported any abuse, even though Tennessee is a mandatory reporter state. They never protected Gracie or Grant from any abuse either, and during one incident in 2018, Headmaster Robbie Mason even allegedly forced Gracie into her father's car despite her begging and pleading with him not to. Now that the allegations are public, Grace Chapel is denying any mishandling of the case, while Grace Christian Academy has not released a public facing statement, and Steve Berger Ministries is demonizing survivors of assault. Grace Christian Academy does, however, send out aggressively threatening letters to anyone who speaks about this matter publicly. See that? That they actually send out aggressively threatening letters to anyone who speaks about this matter. Prominent guests at Grace Chapel include power couple of Jack Johnson. See, he's Senator Jack Johnson, Senator for the state of Tennessee. His wife, Judge Deanna Johnson. Republican state senator and his wife, Judge Deanna Bell Johnson, the judge who signed the order forbidding Angela Solomon from seeking any legal redress for the abuse she and her family had suffered. Coincidentally, Judge Johnson has made a habit of troubling rulings against victims of abuse and assault, as can be seen in how she treated the victim in the Brentwood Academy case. In August of 2017, a sixth grade student was sexually assaulted and raped by several other pupils in the locker room at Brentwood Academy. And after the assault was dismissed and belittled by the headmaster of the school, Curtis Masters, Judge Johnson ruled that the case had no merit and dismissed it with prejudice. According to an article in the Tennessean, Judge Johnson even faced accusations of plagiarism because her ruling seemed to have been copy pasted from the defense's brief. Not to be outdone by his wife, Senator Johnson allegedly helped cover up the case of a 3-year-old child who had been sexually assaulted by a teenage Sunday school teacher at a Fellowship Bible Church daycare in Brentwood. See that, y'all? Although he does not worship at Grace Chapel, Judge Philip E. Smith has been criticized for similar attitudes as his colleagues. He went viral few years ago for an outburst of rage from the bench in which he screamed at a female attorney, Cynthia Cheatham. Later on, Judge Smith neither explained nor apologized for the incidents, stated to Fox 17 that I stand by what I said. It was the same Judge Smith who not only excluded the testimonies of three medical professionals, all of which were in Angelia's favor, he also dismissed her claims that Aaron had tried to strangle her, responding, I don't believe you. I do believe you tried to commit suicide. Additionally, several sources have confirmed to me that Judge Smith is rather friendly with Aaron Solomon's legal representation, D. Scott Harsley. And that again. Both of these judges have sworn and signed oaths of office, which state they should rule fairly and impartially. Whether this is what they're currently doing, I will leave to the reader to decide. They're not doing that. We know that. The church is not Aaron's only source of supporters, though. As a former WSMV news anchor and radio personality, he has what he describes on his LinkedIn page as good friends and former colleagues at one of the biggest networks in the area. These pictures show him with Jeremy Finley, the chief of investigative reporting at WSMV, and Terry Bolger, WSMV story guy and human interest reporter. WSMV cannot be reached for comment, but their lack of reporting on the story speaks volumes. I don't think I would be following WSMV. I would not be watching any of their news stories. I would not care about them whatsoever. Why give them credit or time of day? This is a guy, which is that's I guess that's that Boulder guy. This is a guy that wrote a book, and there's his best friend, fellow Grace Chapel attendee, personal friend to Steve Berger, and viral sensation in his own right. Sam Johnson, who garnered much media attention last year when he was filmed going out of his way to attack and demean a boy wearing a dress to his high school prom. After Grace's allegations emerged, Sam, who both Gracie and Angelia have blocked because of his abusive and manipulative messages towards them, used his dog Governor's Instagram page to chastise them for speaking up. In his message, he said that talking about the allegations publicly brings shame on Jesus' name. You don't believe that? Remember, that's what they told me too, right? They told me I am demeaning God by speaking out. According to his LinkedIn page, Aaron Solomon doesn't just hobnob with people like David Briley, the one-time mayor of Nashville and Davidson County, though. As a private wealth advisor for Clint, Cole, and Associates, a team working under the Merrill Lynch umbrella, Aaron also congregates professionally with clients of substantial means. Who all that does or doesn't entail remains to be seen, but it should be acknowledged that a job like that comes with significant social capital. Clint, Cole, and Associates cannot be reached for comment at this time. And finally, we shouldn't forget these years of volunteer work with Our Kids Tennessee. See? Lead and founded by Seafort White, a nonprofit organization that provides services to vulnerable child survivors of sexual abuse. Our Kids has many connections to social workers, guardians, CASAs, lawyers, and judges. When reached for comment, Seafort White said that Aaron Solomon resigned from the board in 2016 and was merely attending the nonprofit's events as a guest, although there's evidence to suggest that Aaron started a fundraiser to Our Kids Tennessee as late as 2020. He also said that a former DCS worker She trusts in the process as well as policies and procedures of the Tennessee Department of Children's Services. So now there is spiritual manipulation. But how could the situation even come this far? Why would anyone endure a spouse as abusive as Aaron Solomon? The simple answer is religious and emotional indoctrination. Angelia Happiness was raised in a fundamentalist evangelical Christianity, and as the report read by Dr. Reed states, she suffered abuse at the hands of her parents as well. This comes as no surprise since many fundamentalist churches preach not to spare the rod so as not to spoil the child. What we do not know about the extent of this abuse, it's fair to say that Angie was raised from birth to adhere to the fundamentalist image of biblical womanhood, to be meek, humble, obedient, and submit herself unto her husband as the church submits herself unto Christ. Angelia's own father himself, a lifelong evangelical fundamentalist, told his daughter, who was scared for her life and that of his grandchildren, that he would pay for a lawyer to lift the restraining order against Aaron, but not one to help her get a divorce. Dr. Murphy, who treated Angelia in the hospital after Aaron allegedly tried to strangle her, notes in his report that patients' parents are also seen to be unreliable sources of information. This mindset of constant self depreciation and unworthiness, implanted by abusive pastors who claim to serve God, is the ideal breeding ground for an abusive marriage to a narcissist who thinks he is God, with a victimized spouse caught in the role of a perpetual scapegoat. Grace Chapel and its legally distinct founder, Steve Berger, preached that the biblical definition of and instructions pertaining to sexual ethics in all circumstances, and in the biblical definition of marriage as being between one man and one woman for one lifetime. Interpretation of the Bible is a contentious issue, and that quote can mean anything from condemning adultery to disallowing divorce to legitimizing spousal abuse and marital rape. Okay, I got something to say about that. I was told that too, but I had to realize the husbands were to treat their wives as he would treat his own body. He wouldn't abuse himself and stuff, so that let me know it was okay to divorce my husband because he broke the bonds. He broke the marriage bonds when he laid his hands on me. On which end of the spectrum the Trinity of Berger, Grace Chapel, and Grace Christian Academy fall becomes clear when you listen to the sermon Berger has tried to screw up for the internet. His 2018 sermon about Christine Blasey Ford hearings. In it, he espouses the so-called two-witness rule, dictating that any allegation of abuse needs to be substantiated by at least two witnesses. The same rule has been controversially discussed in other church-related sexual abuse cases, like in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and Jehovah's Witnesses, since it allows abusers within the church to continue victimizing children as long as there are no two witnesses. Berger also warns that there can be no pity. Don't have pity on the false accuser. Don't allow emotional testimony to supersede the facts of the case. Don't pity them for the degree of self-inflicted judgment. Statistics show that false accusations are exceedingly rare. Between 2 and 5% of sexual assault allegations are fictitious, but as Gracie's attorney, Alex Little, points out, sexual abuse is one of the hardest crimes to detect, prove, and prosecute, since there usually aren't any witnesses. Sexual abuse and assault are by their very nature private crimes, not typically the kind of stranger danger assaults children were warned about in past decades. It follows then what Pastor Berger is really saying here is don't have pity with victims. More recently, Pastor Stevens stringed a series of sermons entitled Exposing the Enemy secured our victory to his congregation. In it, as well as in the accompanying notes that worshippers can receive as a newsletter, he states emphatically that it's a righteous thing with God to repay with tribulation those who persecute you. So he's telling and teaching the church to come back after these people who comes forward and tells on you for doing this. It's okay for you to go ahead and do this to them. So with that note, that tells me, with him preaching that, could he not also be charged with putting that in Aaron's mind that he should go ahead and be killed also for Grant's murder? One can only wonder at whom this series aims, but its release on the 7th of June, 2021, less than a month after Gracie published her YouTube video, might give the reader a hint. In his sermons, Berger also directs his congregants to employ so-called imprecatory prayers, most commonly understood to function akin to a curse. While he does not mention Gracie or her mother by name, he does say that it just to pray imprecatory prayers against those who have mocked the church, accused falsely, sown divisiveness, and threatened the unity of his congregation. And from Mr. Berger's point of view, that may well be what he thinks Gracie and her mother did. Further says not to pay attention when lies seemingly supported by outward circumstances, to keep patience, obedience, and promise in his ministry, and guard your heart from bitter, vengeful hatred, which mirrors the language used by Sam Johnson in the text messages sent from his dog's Instagram page. It discloses the abuse, brings shame on the name of Jesus Christ and on the church to do this out in the open public. He wrote to the abused and bereaved mother and daughter, further stating that he loved them all, but that they had immense hate built up in their hearts. Now, y'all got hate. Y'all don't want to be found out. This too shall pass, but while Aaron Solomon and Grace Chapel try to see their way out of this situation, Grace Christian Academy is trying to intimidate the folks who speak out by brute juristic force, and Steve Berger and those who adhere to his teachings pray to God to smite their accusers. What is next for Gracie and her mother? For the time being, Gracie is safer in foster care, although her alleged abuser still has custody of her. As far as we can tell, she is incredibly strong and determined to not only survive this, but to thrive. In a video posted to the Freedom for Gracie Instagram, Gracie can be seen hinting at a smile as she thanks those who have helped spread her message. In the same video, she states that while things are still hard for her, she feels hopeful and respected for the first time, and she wants to become an advocate when she's older. I've chosen to publish this under pseudonym because Aaron Solomon has already filed a SLAPP suit against his daughter, ex-wife, and 27 other defendants, and I have no doubt that this article will enrage him. Grace Chapel, Grace Christian Academy, Stephen Berger, and about a dozen other people with very expensive law degrees. I have tried to err on the side of neutrality and write this wherever it was an option to do so without protecting the alleged abuser. Please find attached a list of links to news articles related to the story, as well as pertinent documents, videos, and pictures. See, there's links to all the sources, files, and studios. I'm going to go ahead. I don't know if y'all, let's see. Are y'all still here? Copy. Let me get this right here. Paste it. Y'all could go to this website here. And that's where I found it. And it's got links for it down below. Now, here's all this. It's all about who you know, Aaron Solomon, Freedom and Gracie. So there again, still here. That's good. Thank you. You see the link I sent above? Jackie. So now I'm going to do another audio.
My brother died protecting me from my father, Aaron Solomon. My father's a monster. It makes me want to vomit. I've been minimalized, but now I've found my voice to be able to tell you that my father raped me, hurt me, and I'm not going to be a victim of this monster. He's a rapist, he's a molester, he's a liar, and he's a killer.
Listen, you just never get a ninth grader making an appointment with you to talk about Jesus as a crusty old gray-haired preacher. And Grant did, and he sat in my office for well over an hour and just wanted to know how he could draw closer to Christ.
think the first thing Governor Bill Lee did after he was sworn in maybe was to swear you in as the commissioner. Is that right?
That's pretty close.
Right now, the faithful like Burger are feeling pretty powerful.
Whenever I receive a letter like that, and it's been several months, I may have received a letter with regard to that, then that letter moves on to our either Department of Safety, appropriately so, or legal services to determine if there's any reason for our engagement there. But I trust the investigative process there and wouldn't have anything else to say about that.
That's all the time we got. I'm really sorry.
Thank you all.
That this is a case that received substantial attention, and that to the extent that prosecutorial resources could be deployed, they were deployed, and that this case received a thorough investigation. I do apologize for not responding to the letter. As I said, my understanding was this was a hand-delivered letter and that there would be an oral response, but I want to reassure everybody that this is a case that was taken seriously by Tennessee's law enforcement community. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Scrimetti.
In their son Grant's mysterious death.
He also destroyed the memorial
on their son's grave. From this to this.
He's underneath the vehicle.
We have all of the evidence. I strongly believe Dad killed Grant, and now he is going to kill me.
It doesn't matter what you think right now.
And I know he me. I hate my dad. He has hurt me sexually, physically, and mentally.
And Gracie and I pulled up, and it was just completely, it looked like this. It was gone. It was just empty. There was a home plate there and a cross, a wooden cross someone had made, and his little name placard.
Every single day, Grant's mom Angie and his sister Gracie would visit his grave.
Those flowers were dead, and they were just laying on it. And we were in complete shock and hurt, and there's no name tag, no even namespace that said that any of this area was Grant.
The day Grant died, his father said he was dragged under his truck into a ditch.
It's rolled over him and drug him into the ditch.
However, Grant didn't have a single scratch on his body, just blunt force trauma to the back of his head. When Grant turned 18, he told multiple friends that he was going to testify in court to get full custody of his sister.
I am Grant Solomon's girlfriend. Leading up to his 18th birthday, he had told me that he wanted to expose his dad and what he had done to his sister, what he had done to Grant and his mom. And I think it's very suspicious how Grant was pronounced dead a couple weeks later and how his father was the only witness.
And that day was the first time he was alone with his father in 2 years.
So the groundskeeper was out there, and he's my friend. And so I said, what happened out here? And he said, Mr. Solomon came and told me he wanted everything cleared. And he said, so I did. I cleared it all off, and it's in a box up there at the memorial home.
Grant's beloved dog, Babby, became severely depressed after his death. A once happy 5-year-old dog grieved himself into an inoperable tumor, and 3 months later, died of a broken heart.
Ours was the only one that was completely cleared. Days after that, even the owner said, Aaron wanted it cleared, and those dead flowers were laying on it.
After Grant's father removed his memorial, he bought graves for Angie and Gracie.
We were in the counselor's office in September the 26th, telling him we would never be a family, we would never go back to him, we would never. And on October the 6th, just the next week, he had gone in and set up the payments for the plots. And he had put my name on plot 3 and Gracie's on plot 1.
Angie and Gracie were terrified.
And his on plot 4.
He's underneath the vehicle.
Okay, what color is it?
It's a white truck.
I hope none of you have to ever feel how it felt to see your name on a grave plot, not expecting it.
That's my son. It's somehow it backed up. Yeah.
It is the first time in my life I actually thought about dying. Why did God do this? I don't want to question him.
We're on an incline, and I guess he didn't have it in park or something.
He hated boxes. He was so claustrophobic, and I know he doesn't know. He's far gone from that box, but it still bothers me.
Yeah, somehow it drug him down, I think. I don't know whether it wasn't in park or what, or if it didn't engage the brake or...
But Angie has the proof. She shows me where the black box was in Grant's car. A black box gathers driving information about a vehicle.
That black box actually shows that someone was in the driver's seat, that there was weight in the driver's seat in the last 3 seconds of the truck's drive, and that the accelerator pedal was pushed in and the steering wheel was being operated and turned sharply to the right, which matches the tire pattern. Then it was placed in park and turned off, and the weight got out of the vehicle. Grant couldn't have been the one in the last 3 seconds to get out because he was under there. So the black box told us everything. So we have all of the evidence. We just don't have an open investigation.
Just like how Grant's dog Babby was protective, Grant always tried to protect his mother and sister until the very end.
He didn't have to be a hero.
Hannah shows me her Bible, where Grant would leave notes and letters for her.
This is just an example of one of the notes. Usually would add, I love you, times infinity. And so I have that. I got that tattooed behind my ear. So he's with me.
All the things that just such a gift that I know that whatever happened right before that, he was so happy because of her. That he was able to, with Hannah, it just couldn't have been anybody else. It couldn't have been anybody else. It just was God, and it was just such a heartbreak to me for her when I had to tell her. But
I want to advocate for him and advocate for Gracie because of just the amazing human he was, and he deserves this.
Grant and Gracie and I, and then this is a picture of Grant and Hannah. Whoever paid for everything gifted Aaron Grant's plot. In Aaron's mind, he owns it. In the state of Tennessee, by law, if a child is buried, both parents own half. So by law in the state of Tennessee, that doesn't hold. But in his mind, he believes that he owns Grant and this spot, and he can do with it what he wanted. And he wanted it cleared.
Okay.
Even though her daughter Gracie was raped by her ex-husband, the courts ripped Gracie away from her own mother and brought her back with her abusive father.
My dad only got one bed when I asked for two. We stopped at a hotel room in Asheville. It made me really nervous before we even got in the hotel room. When we went to bed, I remember him slowly getting closer to me until I was on the edge of the bed. I kept waking up by feeling his feet rub against mine. I kept waking up and then finally realized that I felt something hard on my lower back close to my butt. At court, Dad's attorney got inches away from my face and tried to manipulate me into thinking what my dad did to me didn't really happen by saying, "Do you really think your dad would do something like that? Do you actually remember that happening?" He was so close to me that I could smell his cigarette breath, and his tone really scared me.
The judge didn't care and ripped her away from her mother.
And said, "You're never going to see your kids again." I'm still fighting today. And I really thought Grant and I would get the kids out. But I didn't.
Gracie will be coming to me, whether you like it or not.
I hate my dad. I am absolutely terrified of him from everything he has done to me, my brother, and my mom. I strongly believe Dad killed Grant, and now he is going to kill me.
Please click the link in my bio to sign this petition to open an investigation into the mysterious death of Grant Solomon. The link in my bio also includes the GoFundMe to help Grant's mom exhume his body so he can have a proper autopsy. If you have any leads or information, please contact Angie directly on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to sign and share this petition so he can get justice, and his sister and mother as well.
Hello there. Sorry about that. I gotta cut off that over there. That's horrible. Okay, I'm trying to find that proof that Aaron Solomon died. I had added. Wow. Aaron died as he stood over his son's kids at Grant's well. I didn't know that. Go share with them what this is. It says was Aaron Solomon running a prostitution ring with WSMB? Wow. Let me go ahead and share this. Audio. Present. Can you hear me okay? Right here it says, was Aaron Solomon running? Dead Testament. Was Aaron Solomon? Okay. Done in the prostitution ring for WSMB. October 2nd, 2023. Sometimes it's best not to sue people for defamation, even if you contend that what they say isn't true. Nothing else, the issues are then forever documented in a public record, which is how Anglican Watch learned of allegations that Aaron, aka Weasel Lips, may be engaged in human trafficking. Whoa! Whoa! Wow! Wow! Even worse for Aaron, the more we dig, the more convinced we are that he was and is in human trafficking. This correction, we believe that Aaron's ability to name names is why Aaron thus far has been shielded from meaningful criminal investigation related to the death of Grant Solomon. We also believe that several persons in Aaron's immediate circle were involved in Grant's death. In 2021, Aaron Solomon sued his ex-wife Angie, her friend Melanie Hicks, and numerous others for defamation, civil conspiracy, and related claims. The defendants countered with a motion under the state's anti-SLAPP statute, which protects against civil claims when the conversation is in the public interest. In other words, because the public has a right to know what happened to Grant, Aaron can't use the court system to shut down the conversation. Aaron non-suited one step ahead and getting smacked into the next state with fees and refiled in federal court. He lost. Now the court records and related coverage are available to anyone with internet access. Nice move, Weasel Lips. Digging in, as Anglican Watch has dug deeper, we uncover more details. Allegations include claims that Aaron was running a prostitution scheme from the news desk at WSMV. Whoa. He allegedly was fired from WSMV over the issue. We have identified a woman we believe was acting as a procurer of women for Aaron. Initially, it appears she was a prostitute for Aaron. Later, she expanded her role. True crime fans have at it. We love it if you could confirm our findings. It seems corporate America is aware of the concerns about Aaron's conduct. For example, Merrill Lynch artfully claims that the Nashville office where Aaron worked is permanently closed, but insiders tell us Aaron is still with the company. Really? A quick trip to Ugly Land, which stops in Weirdville, so let's take a quick look to Ugly Land and see how this ties together. Nashville residents may recall the WSMB anchor Holly Thompson posted to Facebook about Aaron Solomon's purported decision to leave the station. In it, Thompson claimed that Aaron decided to depart WSMB and lied to coming changes and planned to focus on running business with Angie. Wow! They were talking about running a business together? That's bad. Post is weird as Johnson made it after Aaron had not been on the show for several days. Administrative leave on the way out the door, anyone? As to the claims wanting to focus on business, that's rich. Aaron craves attention, and it would take a crowbar of allegations of criminal conduct to pry Aaron loose in front of the TV camera, or both. We don't believe Thompson for an instance, and we have heard numerous claims to suggest that the real issue Aaron left WSMB was his ties to human trafficking. Flash forward, and Thompson posted on Facebook about Grant's death. But Thompson's proximity to Grant's death involves much more than being former colleagues. We see the connection when, of all things, we look at the whereabouts of Grant's cell phone the day he died. Recall, Grant's mobile was on the ground near him, along with his baseball cap and goggles. It was not at the point of impact, which is where we would expect had Grant's death been an accident. That said, we know that the screen was intact in the minutes following the incident. Later, the mobile phone vanished. Using the Live 360 app she shared with Grant, his girlfriend Hannah saw that the cell phone was moving around, eventually stopping at Holly Thompson's home. When Hannah said something about calling the police, Aaron quickly told her not to do that. He showed up soon after, Grant's cell phone in hand, but with the screen now broken. So how did Aaron know where to find the phone? And why was the screen broken? And how did it show up at the home of a former co-worker? There's more. Aaron lied as he stood over his son's open casket at Grant's funeral. He lied about how they played baseball together. He lied about his purported Christian faith. And he lied about Grant's cell phone. Aaron told people that a good Samaritan found the phone, came to Jesus because of finding it, and even charged it overnight. But Live 360 told a different story. Grant was the last person to charge his cell phone, not an imaginary good Samaritan, not Holly Thompson, not her husband, Lee Lynch. And no one came to Jesus thanks to finding Grant's cell phone. No one. Not another wrinkle. Holly Thompson's husband, Lee Lynch, owns a Gallatin-based business, North Star Environmental Group Incorporated. He also owns a gun shop, the Gun Crew LLC, and is associated with Intex Contracting. Our research suggests that North Star had a white box truck on the road the morning Grant died, which comports with Aaron's claim that one was on the scene. The truck mysteriously vanished before police arrived. Did it drive the 5.4 miles down Route 109 to North Star's offices? We've also received unconfirmed tips that North Star rented space nearby. Could it have been at one of the next door storage units? Then we get to the female voice heard on the 911 calls. Was Holly Thompson at the scene? We don't know, but now is an excellent time for law enforcement to pull Holly Thompson's GPS data, that of her husband Lee Lynch, and anyone associated with them. Nor has Holly Thompson answered questions about the strange connection between her husband and Grant's death. And by the way, Lee Lynch is Aaron's best friend. Neither do we have an explanation for Aaron's weird lies at Grant's funeral. There also Aaron's insistence out of the blue that Grant meet him at Ward Performance Institute that morning, not later in the day as Grant had hoped for, first thing in the morning, despite not having an appointment. And why did Aaron not go closer to home for batting practice? There were several possibilities, all closer to home than WPI. Bottom line, it doesn't pass the sniff test. There's a reason. There are simply too many things that don't make sense in the connection between Aaron Solomon, Holly Thompson, Lee Lynch, and the death of Grant Solomon. We also know that Holly Thompson is a mother with two boys. The fact she don't have the courage to put a foot down and answer questions is disturbing. Again, why did Holly Thompson and her husband have Grant's belongings in their possession after his death? And spare us the explanations involving what you think of Angie. Aaron's lies at Grant's funeral tells us everything we need to know. Were Lee Lynch and Holly Thompson involved in Grant's death? Is any of the direct evidence that Lee Lynch and Holly Thompson were involved in Grant Solomon's death or Aaron Solomon alleged human trafficking? No, but if we were law enforcement and wanted to understand these allegations, we'd start with a deep dive around Lee Lynch, Holly Thompson, and WSMB. But then we believe investigators will find out exactly what happened and the connections between Gracie's alleged abuse and death of her brother Grant. We also think that they would quickly find that Aaron is engaged in human trafficking. If nothing else, Aaron's lies and circumstances around them are too weird to investigate. Finally, Anglican Watch believes we must finish what Grant started, protecting his sister and mother from a generally evil person, Aaron Solomon. Check out the screencasts from IG below. Gracie and Amelia standing with them would like to know why Aaron's best friend, your husband Lee Lynch, ended up with Grant's most personal items from the ditch the day Grant died. Grant's GCA baseball cap, his sports goggles, and his cell phone. Those same items being the most important to an investigation then or now, and just FYI for you and Lee, mapped clearly by Grant's Life 360. And if you don't want to answer, then perhaps your news station would like to. We're already well aware that they do not want to report on finding out what really happened to Grant. They might feel different when they find out that one of their own, for well over 20 years, will become news. Your reply be waited on by millions around the world. Wow. So now I'm going to go ahead and mute my camera again. Mute my mic, I'm sorry.
I'd be like, Hello? Hello? Anybody there?
Grant and Gracie Solomon were born to parents Aaron and Angie.
Morning, rebels are rejecting
Aaron
a
Solomon
proposed
was a longtime morning news anchor and sports reporter for WSMV Channel 4 News in Nashville. He was also a very trusted financial advisor and was a board member for the nonprofit organization Our Kids Tennessee. Our Kids Tennessee provides expert medical evaluations and crisis counseling in response to concerns about child sexual abuse. Aaron sat on the board for 16 years, and to me, that makes this story even more shocking. See, Aaron is a narcissist, and a good one at that, or bad, I should say. On the outside, he has everyone fooled, making it seem as if he was your all-around good guy. However, behind closed doors, he was allegedly physically, mentally, and sexually abusive. Aaron would eventually file for divorce after he attempted to strangle his wife Angie, yet claimed that she attempted suicide. During the divorce, the abuse would continue, not only to Angie but to the kids as well. But without actual proof, allegations don't always hold up, and that's exactly how the court ruled. In a shocking twist, Aaron was awarded custody of the children. Angie then tried to file a lawsuit against Aaron, alleging abuse and neglect, but the case was sadly dismissed. Over the next 5 years, the kids would live a life of horror, always feeling unsafe, uncomfortable, and suffering from continued abuse. Aaron basically had tight control over every part of their lives, and with full custody, he could abuse them any time it pleased him.
2 weeks of school and for regionals. And for
No, they're not going to stay with you till the end of school, so drop it.
They're people.
Don't pull this shit on this day like this.
I tried to talk to you
Okay, I've already given it another day.
They're not ready.
Two
They're
weeks
not
in
ready.
a
They're
row.
not packed. You can yell all you
Well,
want.
that's your fault because you didn't get their shit ready. That's
Aaron,
you.
this
You notice
morning
that
at 8
anytime I
o'clock,
bring them
Aaron,
to you,
continue
I
to yell.
always have their shit ready when they're come to you, okay?
They're not.
I will start saying, well, their stuff isn't ready yet. That's what I'm going to do for you
So
and
you're
see how
going
you
to
like it.
torture the kids when they're so excited.
During those 5 years between 2013 and 2018, Grant's bedroom door lock was on the outside, while Gracie's lock was on the inside. This was so he could allegedly, repeatedly sexually abuse his young daughter hundreds of times after giving her a drink at night, which left her groggy. He would also allegedly video Gracie and take photos of her in the shower and bathroom. They say that he would ration their food, time Grant on the toilet, and verbally abuse them. Finally, in 2018, the kids had had enough and ran away to their mother's home where they ultimately felt safe, refusing to return. By this point, Gracie was in the 6th grade and her mind was developing to know what her dad was doing was wrong, and he couldn't make her stay quiet. She says that when she was little, Aaron would tell her not to tell anyone. On July 20th, 2020, Aaron says that he was meeting Grant at Ward Performance Institute in Gallatin, Tennessee, to practice pitching baseball. Aaron says that when Grant arrived, he parked his vehicle next to his. What Aaron claims happened next is truly shocking. Aaron claims that Grant exited his truck and goes to grab his baseball equipment from the bed of his pickup truck. Then all of a sudden, his truck dragged him across the pavement, down a hill, and into a ditch. Aaron claims that while all this was going on, he was still in his car checking work emails on his phone. At 8:44 a.m., Aaron calls 911 to report the incident, and Grant was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. As you all know, 911 calls can be very incriminating, and Aaron's phone call was no different. On the 911 call, he says,
My son's truck backed over him, and it's rolled over him and dragged him into the ditch, and it's on top of him. He's trapped under the truck, and somehow it drug him underneath it. Yes, my son is under it. I'm trying to call 911.
Okay, what's your name?
Oh my God. My name is Aaron Solomon.
And you said
Oh
you're
my God.
at 1357 South Water Avenue, right?
Yes.
How old
yes.
is the male?
He's 18. He just turned 18 a couple weeks, about a month ago. It's my son. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is not good.
Is he awake and
Oh, please
talking to
hurry.
you?
I don't think so. He's not alert, right? No, he's out. And he's trapped. I got 3 guys here, and he's trapped under the truck.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I understand, sir. Stay on the phone with me while we get somebody out there. What's your name?
Now keep those 3 guys in mind because that part is very important. Toward the end of the 911 call, you can hear the incoming sirens and Aaron continuing to yell to the 3 guys that he claims were down in the ditch trying to help a trapped Grant. Here's where things get really strange. When police officers and paramedics arrive, these 3 men are nowhere to be found. They were said to be driving a white box truck, but no one but Aaron saw that truck. It's almost as if Aaron left his son trapped and dying and lied about 3 men in a truck to explain why he sat on the 911 call and did nothing. The 911 operator had even instructed Aaron to go down into the ditch and be with his son, suggesting he might be scared, but Aaron never went. Instead, he stood at the top of the hill and shouted at those 3 so-called men who nobody but him would ever see. A medical examiner would find that Grant's ultimate cause of death was due to cardiac arrest. He had also suffered blunt force trauma to the back of his head and was found with a traumatic brain injury. When paramedics arrived on the scene, they found Grant lying on his back under the front of his truck between the tires. This was strange because Aaron repeatedly said Grant was trapped under the wheels. Grant was also found to be bleeding from his nose, ears, and scalp. Aaron's account of the incident didn't make sense to Grant's sister Gracie or their mother Angie. Grant always called or messaged his girlfriend from his truck when arriving at a new location and before getting out of his truck, but on this particular day, that never happened. There are even more inconsistencies that contradict Aaron's account of events. Grant never kept his baseball equipment in the back of his truck, but instead always kept it in the back seat of the driver's side. So why would he be behind his truck in the first place? Also, Aaron claims not to have seen the actual incident. How did he not hear or see his son's truck moving? And I would assume Grant's cries for help. It just doesn't make sense. As the very quick investigation at the scene wrapped up and the 7 police officers left, Grant's phone, hat, and baseball goggles were left in the ditch. If you're still not convinced that things aren't adding up, then let me add this. Aaron declined life flight transport and immediately refused an autopsy and organ donation before Angie even had time to arrive at the hospital. Angie had an hour's drive to make, so Aaron filled out paperwork before Grant's body was even cold. But he didn't refuse Grant's tissue being donated, which shows he wanted any evidence of Grant's skin removed. However, Grant's skin was unable to be donated because he had COVID a month before. Does this sound to you like someone who is trying to save their son? And when Grant's mother and sister arrived at the hospital, they allegedly found Aaron already lining up a singer for Grant's funeral. Grant had been living with Angie for the past couple of years and was frustrated that Aaron, who had not been in Grant's life, was quickly making all the decisions. Angie, a pharmacist, couldn't understand why Grant's injuries were so inconsistent with Aaron's story. She was shocked to see her son's body intact with so little injury. Hospital staff recorded a single laceration with bleeding on Grant's skull and 3 bruises, one on his jaw, one near his left hip, and one on his right thigh. Grant drove that truck for about an hour to get to baseball practice, and Aaron said the truck dragged his son across the asphalt into a ditch filled with rocks. Yet no further injuries were recorded, no burns from the hot vehicle or abrasions from getting dragged along an asphalt lot. No punctures, fractures, bleeding, or any other wounds beyond those 3 bruises and the 1 laceration and blow to his head. There were no scrapes, dirt, or marks on his shoes. Since Aaron never went down to see his son as he lay dying under the truck, how did he know he was trapped? How did he know he couldn't move and had blood coming out of his mouth? I don't know about y'all, but if my child were trapped under a vehicle, I would be down there doing everything I could to save their life. Aaron claims the truck must have malfunctioned and refused a forensic exam of the truck. When vehicles are involved in inexplicable accidents, it's normal that they are inspected to look for faulty issues and potential recalls. However, in this case, not only did an inspection never happen, but a man whose family had already accused him of domestic abuse and violence was taken at his word about the extremely suspicious death of his son. The truck was reportedly found in park with the engine off, which is strange because the truck's safety feature prevents the engine from turning off if it's not in park. After the incident, Aaron would take over Grant's truck and drive it around for months, unconcerned that it would malfunction. Although Grant's mother requested an investigation, Gallatin police took Aaron's statement and promptly closed the case. The next day, Grant's girlfriend, Hannah, saw his phone pinging on his Life 360 app moving. Shocked, his girlfriend's mom called Angie and said she was going to call the police because Grant's phone was moving. Angie then went into the funeral home and told Aaron, who looked shocked and suddenly said he knew who to call. She does not know who he called, although he said he called the WPI, the building where the accident occurred outside. He later said that his best friend's friend just happened to find Grant's belongings in the ditch and took them. His belongings were later given to Angie. 8 days later, when Aaron described the incident on video to her, he changed his story and said that Grant was getting his gear from the back seat, not the bed of the truck. Strangely, everything in the truck appeared undisturbed, just as Grant would have left it. The only thing out of the ordinary was Grant's baseball bat was missing. Aaron would give a bizarre speech at his son's memorial, and 8 minutes into that speech, he would call Grant's death a godly thing. Grant's family and friends have found Aaron's behavior throughout the ordeal very odd and says his salesman-like speech was very cold-blooded. But we have to ask ourselves this question. If any of the allegations from Grant's family and friends are true, then what was Aaron's motive? Well, at the time of Grant's death, his sister Gracie had an order of protection against their father Aaron, and Grant was set to testify against him once he turned 18. Unfortunately, Grant died 1 month after his 18th birthday. In an 18-minute video recorded last year, when Gracie was 14, she made many serious allegations against her father, including rape in a North Carolina hotel room and a lifetime of sexual abuse. Gracie describes how their father belittled, intimidated, and controlled her brother, and how her whole family has suffered at the hands of her father. She also called out the leaders of Grace Christian Academy and Grace Chapel Church. Throughout the video, Gracie lays out in graphic detail the alleged abuse from her father toward her and her brother Grant. Gracie also accused the founding pastor of Grace Chapel of lying publicly about his conversation with Grant in 2018. She says Grant wanted the pastor of the church to help stop the abuse, but the pastor later claimed at Grant's funeral that Grant went to him as a 9th grader to talk more about Jesus, but that was a lie. In her video, Gracie said the abuse at her father's hands began at a very young age when he demanded to be the parent to bathe her, not her mother. She said later, her father respected her boundaries for a couple of years, starting in 2018 after he allegedly raped her and after she and Grant had run away from his home to live with their mother, but began harassing her again as soon as Grant died. She didn't even want to go to school because Aaron would show up despite her having a temporary restraining order on him, and the school allowed him on their property without ever asking him to leave. She said Grant planned to fight their father in court when he turned 18 because he suspected his word would be taken more seriously then. Gracie believes her father killed her brother to prevent that from happening. Tennessee has very harsh laws and typically dishes out very long sentences to child abusers, so it's more shocking to know that they wouldn't take any action against Aaron at all. But I guess when you are in a position of power, you are allowed to destroy people's lives with little to no repercussions. For years, Angie, Gracie, and Grant tried to get help as a family in crisis, but their church, school, judicial system, and local law enforcement all chose to protect their abuser and reprimand the victims instead. Throughout the years, Angie, Gracie, and other concerned individuals have been treated like they are instigators. They have basically been told to move on and stop trying to make the church look bad for minimizing Aaron's abuse. But let me tell you, I have had firsthand experience dealing with a narcissist, and I can tell you that they are really good at pulling the wool over people's eyes. So keep that in mind when I share this next shocking piece of information. Aaron was a member and regular attendee of Grace Chapel Church, alongside the judge who decided that the domestic violence against Angie was all made up. That same judge has a spouse that's a state senator. And last but not least, the governor of the state, Bill Lee, also attended the same church.
Earlier, there was a demonstration held outside the state capitol last November calling for a new investigation into the 2020 death of Grace Christian Academy senior Grant Solomon, which protesters alleged that this death happened under suspicious circumstances. Now, Melanie Dix, a family friend of Grant, also a distant neighbor of yours who's been to your farm, she has sent you multiple letters asking you to consider pushing for a new investigation into Grant's death. So my questions are, one, have you received this letter or are you familiar with the situation? And two, if you have received this letter or are familiar with the situation, do you have any plans to use your power as governor to push for a new investigation into his death?
So whenever I receive a letter like that, and it's been several months, I may have received a letter with regard to that, then that letter moves on to our either Department of Safety, appropriately so, or legal services to determine if there's...
This church resides in Williamson County, Tennessee, which is known for its zero tolerance in its court system. Unless you go to Grace Chapel and are friends with the people that run the judicial system. I spoke to someone who lived in that county between 2008 and 2010, and they were able to confirm how corrupt the justice system is there. On top of all that, the pastor of the church at the time has been accused of covering for multiple sexual abusers, ignoring the sexual abuse of students he was responsible for in the school connected to his church. This pastor has held very influential positions in the community and is described as a spiritual abuser, willing to do anything to protect his reputation. Even his wife would protect him despite his abusive power and position to emotionally manipulate women. The mega church in Williamson County, Tennessee, has been described by some as a fundamentalist evangelical cult. Grace Chapel released a statement that has now been deleted after coming under fire on social media, in which they claim that no one knew about the abuse that was going on, but there's proof that that statement is a lie. There is also proof of Angie's vilification in the community, which you can see in this email exchange. In October 2016, Angie and coach Lynn McNatt were assembling a girls' basketball team, so she sent out an email to every 4th grade girl's parents and the 2 basketball coaches. She then received a reply-all email back from one of the recipients, Dwayne Curl, quoting 2 scriptures, Matthew 24:4 and Ephesians 5:6. After Angie looked up the scriptures, she was taken aback and confused, so she emailed Dwayne, his wife, and the 2 coaches, asking what he meant. When he didn't respond, she called him directly. He answered and said, "Everyone has heard the stories about you. I wanted to warn those who didn't know," and hung up. 10 minutes after he hung up on her, he responded to Angie's email, saying they spoke and there was nothing more to say. Thank you and God bless. This man is the husband of the school counselor, Amy Curl. Counselor Curl was alerted multiple times about Gracie's abuse and did nothing to stop it and never reported it. She even admitted in court that she didn't report it. Even after a fellow student's mother came to Curl personally and told her a horrifying story about an incident in 2014 at a playdate regarding Gracie. A very young Gracie had placed an object around her private area and said that's what happens at her father's house. Neither parent nor Curl reported it to DCS or local law enforcement. Just like when Gracie told her school principal Rona Branson, Curl and Branson both responded by shaming Gracie and again didn't report it. Shockingly, Curl told Gracie that the boys wouldn't like her if they knew about the abuse. She is even heard on audio telling Grant in a meeting, "I just wanted to let Gracie know that some of the boys knew." Amy Curl's husband had never spoken to Angie, yet he shamed her with scripture in front of all the parents and coaches in the email, while his wife criminally covered up child abuse. This is the culture that allowed a criminal to continue their abuse. In 2018, Aaron's behavior was becoming increasingly erratic, and the kids began telling people about the abuse and looking for someone to help them. Documents reveal that in 2018, Gracie and Grant told their friends, guardian ad litem, and court about the locks on their bedroom doors. Grant had said his bedroom door lock was on the outside, while Gracie's was on the inside, so his father could lock him in his bedroom at night. Gracie said her father would make her a special lemonade at night, and she would wake up groggy and in pain below. Despite the children documenting this to the courts, authorities continued to work at reunifying Gracie with her abuser, while the judge told Grant, "You're a big boy, you can protect yourself." Grant even called CASA in September 2018 and said he feared his dad would harm him. Gracie, like others, doesn't believe her brother's death was a mere accident. You would think the media outlets in Nashville would be all over this story, but I guess not when you worked for the media in Nashville for 15 years. Even Grace Chappell's correspondence to blogger Shannon Ashley on Medium.com criticized her for believing the word of a 14-year-old girl. In fact, they sent her a cease and desist letter threatening legal action for her writings about the church and claims that Aaron is not a member of their church.
Because I just met this man. He was saying that, I had to divorce my wife because she tried to commit suicide. She's crazy. And I was thinking to myself, why would a person leave their spouse after something horrible like that? I mean, you would want to help your husband or wife out if something like that happened. And I was thinking, this is really strange that he's telling me this because I don't even know this man.
Yeah.
You know?
Did Aaron ever make a pass at you or anything?
Yeah, big time.
Big time.
Well, when I was standing in the kitchen, first time he met me, like I was saying, the whole time he was talking to me, talking about his wife trying to commit suicide, he was like, you know how men will like look at you in the eyes, then they will look down at your feet and up, down, up, down, up.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I thought, okay, he's a weirdo.
Kind of undressing you with his eyes type thing.
Huh?
Kind of undressing you with his eyes, more or less.
Yes. And I was thinking, well, he's Aaron Solomon, maybe he's not that way, you know what I'm saying? But, so, he did this 2 or 3 times. He would come in the door. I would hear the garage door open. And most people, when they come home for lunch, they're like, hello, I'm here for just a little while. I'm going to eat lunch. Then I'm going to leave. Thought I'd tell you hi,
No.
Well, no, it was nothing like that. I would always start upstairs, and as soon as I would hear him, I'd be like, hello, anybody there? He would not say a word at all until like 2 or 3 minutes later. I would look over and he would be creeping up the steps. Before I went to bed, I would go into Gracie's room and I would tell her a story, read to her or whatever. And we were just talking like that. And I was like, yeah, they grow up, too fast, whatever. And then he completely changed. He was like, hey, next time you come, he's like, why don't you bring your bathing suit? And you could go for a swim. And I was like, I don't do that. I was like, I'm just here to clean that. I've never done that before. So no, I will not do that.
No.
He was like, okay, well, he's like, I think I'm going to go out and take a swim. So I was like, okay, well, have fun, So he goes downstairs. I'm finished with Gracie's room. So I walk across the hall. So I was cleaning out the tub and I thought, wait, I got a really strange feeling after he said that. And I was thinking, wait a minute, Belinda. Something told me you need to check on him and make sure, he could come in and do whatever, because I already had a creepy feeling about him. So I walked over to the grandparents' window, looked outside. He was like really close to the house in the lounge chair, facing their window, where he probably thought I would, look out, whatever. Facing their window, completely nude with, how would I say it? An erection.
Yep.
Totally. And I thought, I said a quick prayer and I thought, maybe I'm not seeing this right. My brain was like, not computing. I thought, well, maybe he has like a flesh-colored, Speedo on or something. So I was like, okay, I need to look one more time just to make positive sure that that's what I'm seeing. So I went like that, and I was like, oh my God. So I started praying, please get me out of this house before he comes in. I run down the steps, throw the stuff in the closet, and I'm trying to do this as quiet as I can too, and grab my purse, walk out the front door, and I had my cleaning stuff with me, so I opened the door and shut it as lightly as I could so he couldn't hear me, but I think he already did. But because immediately I called my husband, told him what had happened, and he texted me like 2 or 3 minutes. Aaron texted me like 2 or 3 minutes down the road and said, why did you have to leave? And are you coming back? And of course, I texted him back when I got home. I was just shaking. I mean, I was in the house with the rapist. I think I called his mom. I don't think I called her, and I just said he did something very inappropriate. I should have just came out and said what he did, but I was trying to save her as a mother,
Yeah.
shouldn't have. But I was like, he did something very inappropriate, and I am never coming back. And she was like, oh, you're not coming back to finish cleaning? Because I had just started cleaning. I hadn't cleaned the whole house because I start upstairs and then down.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not coming back. And he owes me all of that money because at that point in time, I thought he was the one that paid. But she was like, no, I pay you. And she said, okay, I'll send you a check.
Here is the timeline of the actions of adults that could have saved Grant's life. In October 2013, Robbie Mason, the school's headmaster, was telling teachers to turn a blind eye to anything regarding Gracie and Grant, and that he would take care of everything. He took Angie's rights away, even taking her off all emails regarding her children, which was illegal. In 2014, little Gracie complained that her father put soap in her and it stings. In 2015, Angie tried to get help but was thrown in jail. Aaron and his attorney used the excuse that she was behind on child support and that's why she was jailed, but it was really because she kept trying to get help. Judge Smith clarified that it was because she would not stop saying these bad things about this good man. As a side note, Judge Smith has since passed away. From 2015 to 2018, Angie, Gracie, and Grant were just trying to follow whatever to make Aaron happy so he wouldn't take the kids from Angie again. Then in 2018, the kids were older and were no longer able to be easily manipulated any longer. In May 2018, 2 years before Grant's death, Angie told Patty Tremblay and Lori Ellsworth about the abuse, but instead of reporting it, they told Bill Woodward, who is the head of security at the church and school. He also chose not to report it, but instead called Judge Deanna Johnson about the situation. In June 2018, Angie was asked by Patty to fill out a benevolence form. The church then basically anointed Angie with oil, prayed over her, gave her $100 for new tires, and then just dropped any emotional or spiritual support. That same month, Angie messages Williamson County Sheriff Jeff Long on Facebook, stating that she feared for her children's lives and other children at the school. Sheriff Long met her immediately, and they discussed the girls at Grace Christian Academy, who Aaron had privately messaged and taken photos of. Angie had also messaged Sheriff Long in 2013 and told him about the abuse, but even back then he did nothing. In 2019, Governor Bill Lee appointed Jeff Long Commissioner of Safety and Homeland Security, basically placing him in control of the Tennessee Highway Patrol. When Grant died, the Tennessee Highway Patrol would have been the proper jurisdiction to handle the case and start an investigation. But even with the warning Jeff Long had, he did nothing. How safe are people in Tennessee if the safety commissioner won't investigate the death of a high school student he was repeatedly warned about? Angie had met Sheriff Long and his wife at a social function years prior, and she trusted him. In her emails to Long, she told him about Aaron committing a felony by forging a check, but once again he did nothing. She even spoke about the double life he was living and how she covered for him for 12 long years, enduring domestic abuse and violence, but once again, nothing was ever done. There was even an incident on May 9, 2013, 31 days after the forged check incident, where Aaron allegedly strangled Angie. Long would go as far as to have a handwriting expert analyze the forged check and verify that the signature matched Aaron's. But guess what? Once again, nothing was done. I'm going to go through a timeline of events that took place in 2018. On May 16, 2018, Angie emailed Kurt Beasley, who is an attorney and close friend to the pastor of Grace Chapel, and told him that she feared for her life and her children's safety. On May 22nd, one of Sheriff Long's detectives followed up with Angie, who decided to open up about the abuse Gracie and Grant suffered at the hands of their father, Aaron. On July 9th, Gracie and Grant undergo a forensic interview. On July 16th, the investigator made a referral to DCS based on Gracie and Grant's interview, but DCS claims they didn't find any issues. On August 3rd, investigators told Angie there wasn't enough to prosecute Aaron. On August 13th, the kids wanted to stay with Angie an extra week. Aaron said okay, but then had deputies pick up Grant and Gracie in a cop car to, as he said, teach them a lesson to obey. The kids then questioned the police. "You're sending us back to an abuser?" The police tell Angie to file an emergency petition for dependent neglect. The next day, on August 14th, Angie files for dependent neglect, and Aaron is served papers. That same day, Aaron leaves with Grant and Gracie, headed for Cary, North Carolina for a school baseball game. On August 15th, CASA worker Melania Wells was assigned to the case. She was the one Grant called in September to tell her he feared his dad was going to hurt Gracie and him. She filed a report and called DCS, and a guardian ad litem was immediately assigned to the case. Megan Plagman, who was over CASA workers, scolded Melania for doing that. Melania was taken off of Grant's case within a few days, and Megan took over. Megan would go on in 2021 and be one of Aaron's 2 character witnesses against Gracie's claims of sexual abuse. She said she did not believe Gracie and stood by Aaron. On August 16th, Aaron heads back towards Williamson County, Tennessee, with Gracie for a preliminary hearing, but stopped to stay the night in a hotel in Asheville, North Carolina. This is when Gracie alleges her father raped her. At the court hearing, the judge told Gracie that she had to remain in the custody of her father. At this point, Gracie falls apart in the courtroom and clings to her mother, Angie. Aaron rips Gracie off of Angie and heads back to Cary, North Carolina. On August 29th, a video was taken in the Publix parking lot that shows Gracie refusing to go with Aaron, despite his police threats and court rules.
You don't come, that might be what happens, is that the police end up coming to get you to my house.
When?
I don't know. So you'd rather do that than just come to my house?
But why would they come get me?
Because the judge said, because the police will make us do what the judge says if we don't do what the judge says.
On August 31st, 2018, Angie was in the car line to pick Gracie up for a doctor's appointment. She began receiving frantic texts from Gracie saying Aaron had shown up at school and was demanding to take her to the appointment himself. I don't know about y'all, but I find this very strange and suspicious. Angie recorded Aaron and elementary school principal Rona Branson after Branson asked Angie to come in to calm things down. 11-year-old Gracie had just told Branson that her father abuses her, and instead of calling the police, Branson told Angie that Gracie would go with Aaron and that she can follow.
It's not Gracie's decision.
Well, because I just want to have our interaction, but I want my office to be a scene.
Well, I'm really, but every time it comes up, it's been a possible scene because things have not been.
This is my suggestion, is that I'll talk to Gracie, I'll tell her that you're going to follow to the doctor. Y'all get the doctor appointment over with, and that she's going to go to her birthday party after that. And then we'll get whatever paperwork and all that figured out next week. So, I mean, I'm kind of on the odd out with you without having paperwork with you. So, in order to keep this calm and I think she'll be okay if I explain all that to her. Is it okay? Can I drive her down there?
No. I'll drive her down there. But you can follow, as she said.
And just go right along to their appointment. Okay.
Well, again, if she agrees, because Gracie wouldn't go with me in the first year. So we really have to consider her.
I am trying to. That's why we're here right now, because I'm trying to consider that. Okay, thank you.
Meanwhile, while this video is being taken, Gracie is hiding from her father in Branson's office upstairs. The school followed Aaron's demand even after Gracie broke down and told the principal why she didn't want to go with her father. This is where school headmaster Robbie Mason says Gracie's claims are old news and puts her in the car with her father. This would be the same man who allowed Gracie's father on campus in the fall of 2020, even after Gracie got a restraining order against him. In February 2020, Judge Dina Johnson put an order on Angie that she could not take Aaron to court again regarding the children for 72 months, which would be the date that Gracie would be 18. Judge Johnson's husband, Senator Jack Johnson, strangely wants to pass a bill where unless a death is determined to be a crime, nobody can investigate. They are allegedly doing that because they know that all this information is circulating about Grant because of the Freedom of Information Act request. It was from these requests that Grant's loved ones were able to receive certain information. The only investigation Gallatin Police Department did was the less than 1 hour during which Grant's scene was cleaned up, yet left valuable evidence such as a cell phone behind in the ditch. In the next clip, Angie follows Gracie to the doctor while Gracie messages Angie the entire time. Why did Aaron have to be at Gracie's doctor appointment? Was he worried she would tell the doctor what he had been doing to her and just did to her? Aaron learned very quickly at Grace Christian Academy that adults can make up their own rules and force children to follow them. As a result, the school is known for kicking children off sports teams and even out of school for minor offenses like cursing. Headmaster Robbie Mason, like others in Gracie's life, never did a single thing to put a stop to the abuse. Mason has even gone as far as to say, "I always say, we're not going to believe everything your kids say about you, so please don't believe everything your kids say about us."
One of those unusual years that we're going to need your support in a lot of different ways. If you hear something strange, please go to our teachers. If you hear something that you need to address that doesn't sound right, please come to us so that we can give you the truth. I always say, we're not going to believe everything that your kids tell us about you. So please don't believe everything that your kids say about us.
He always says this to parents gathered at the beginning of every school year. It was even captured on video in 2020 and sent out to parents. This is the same gathering each year that they say that their school is the only real, true Christian school around. The law in Tennessee states that any person with reasonable cause to believe a child is being abused or neglected must, under the law, immediately report it to the Tennessee Department of Children's Service or the local law enforcement, but Mason broke the law by failing to report the abuse. Instead, he covered for his friend Aaron. He even covered up for him in 2013 after Aaron forged a check from the school. On top of that, he refused to honor a restraining order against Aaron, and then he dared to ask Aaron to announce baseball games at the school, which angered some parents who believed Angie, Gracie, and Grant. Headmaster Mason would also be the one that would make a statement for Aaron's defamation case. He would also be the one that made sure students did not talk about Grant's death in school. Grant's friends were told they were not allowed to talk about it. I want to make a side note that not everyone at the school is a horrible person. Some kids and parents at the school did express concerns about the abuse Gracie was going through, but that didn't matter to Mason, and he still proceeded to ignore the claims. After the doctor's appointment that Aaron forced himself to, Gracie can be seen begging to go with her mother. Angie recorded Aaron in a doctor's parking lot, trying to coerce Gracie into going with him to Mississippi for another baseball event, which would consist of staying in a hotel again.
Well, I'm missing the party right now. Please. I want to ride with Mom.
Alright, so then after the party, you go with me and Grant to Mississippi?
I don't want to go to Mississippi, please. I just want to
Okay, Gracie, you're coming to me eventually. Because you guys are breaking the rules. I'm not. You two are breaking the rules. I'm not.
Is that what you think it is?
No, I know what it is. I understand. But at some point, We're supposed to be following rules that aren't being followed. And there's reasons for the rules. And it doesn't matter what us three think. And we've had this conversation a number of times, but it's going to stop. Gracie will be coming to me at some point. Whether you like it or not, it will happen. Because I'm not going to continue to allow us to be breaking the rules. And you shouldn't be allowing it either. And you shouldn't be allowing it either. It's not just about what you want right now. It's much bigger than that. And I've tried to play nice and be nice about it, but you've done with Mom way more than you're supposed to, and way more than what the judge said. It doesn't matter what you think right now.
Even the guardian ad litem in the case testified that she had never seen this level of control exerted by Aaron over Grant and Gracie before. Gracie had even told a friend at school, if my dad ever comes to school to pick me up again, I'm going to call 911 because she knew the school wouldn't do anything about it. Aaron is clearly a master manipulator and has fooled many people. It seems a lot of people in the case don't believe Angie, Gracie, or Grant unless they had captured proof on audio or video. That's clear regarding Grant's crime scene because it's not on video and no one believes Aaron had any part in it. Over the years, people have sided with Aaron and called Angie crazy or mentally ill for her claims. This shows you the level of control people can have over others to the point where they will continue to allow abuse to go on. Now, Gracie and Angie have to live in fear every day, not knowing if Aaron is coming for them next. The Attorney General himself calls Grant's accident a crime scene and a homicide, yet they haven't done anything about it. Aaron was the only witness with conflicting stories. His stories do not match the scene. Listen to Aaron in this video.
At the time I was mad, but then after the fact I think that was so I wouldn't see everything
Yeah.
and make it worse.
And then that's when we got them to tell us some of the regional hospital, and I left and headed this way.
Right. As soon as they got him in the ambulance, then they let me come out and drive, basically chase the ambulance to the hospital.
Yeah, but you never made it down there.
Not all the way down
and you didn't open the truck door or anything
No. Nobody opened. Nobody touched him or the truck. Because there were a couple dudes.
You just saw it here and was like, I got to call.
Oh, I got to call because there's no way we can help it. Somebody at a higher
and
level.
And you could see from here that he was.
Plus, we have the abuse against Gracie that he hasn't been charged with yet. From 2013 to 2021, no one in the Grace Christian Academy administration fulfilled their mandatory obligation to report the abuse. Instead, they continued to allow Aaron on the school campus, even allowing him to take photos of other students who he would then attempt to contact via social media. Angie had long learned the game to protect herself and her children as best as she could. She knew the church and school were protecting Aaron, but her children were growing older with minds and voices of their own. Tragically, when they spoke up, they were silenced. These administrators are still in charge at Grace Christian Academy. They care more about Gracie's reputation than protecting her as if she could control being sexually abused. They care more about the other kids hearing the word sexual abuse than the fact Gracie was living it.
We're having parents reach out to us. I mean, I've had 3 parents over the weekend that said, my child came to me and asked me, what is sexual abuse? You know, where is this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a lot of kids are being affected by what she's gone through and what she's telling people, and then they're so young. We're talking about 10 and 11-year-olds, you know, so they don't know what to do with it, and then they go tell somebody else, and then it's like, I just don't want it to become the talk of the school or to grow a life of its own. We want to, for her sake, how do we contain this so that, for her sake, number one, because it isn't just about 6th grade for her. This is, you know what I mean? These are her peers all the way up. And so I don't want something that's going to be detrimental to her, that's going to fall. She's not thinking of the future. She's thinking of right now, you know. But I'm thinking of the future and how this is going to follow her with her peers, you know. And then I also have to think about other students who are now, you know, having to deal with this with their parents.
That
Right.
as far as like, we don't want other students then going and talking to
So I did ask her.
other students.
Yeah, who have you told, you know? And I didn't say, who have you told that your dad sexual abused? I didn't use that word. I didn't say that in front of her. I just said, who have you talked to about this, you know? And we kind of played dumb, like, you know, I don't want to tell them anything that they don't know. I just said, you know, this is not something that you need to repeat. You know, please don't tell anybody. Don't go tell them. At least 3 boys know, and several girls, and I'm really concerned because they don't know what to do with it. They, you know,
that, like,
how sensitive. It says,
yes, how sensitive that it is.
and that's, you know, and that's what we tried to talk to Gracie about. It's like, you need to choose who you talk to about this very carefully.
She hears what we're trying to say and that we're trying to help. So I was, you know, I don't know if that's really how she felt. I'm not sure, but okay.
We as a group help, you know, contain this. I mean,
In her aging process, started to have confliction and confusion about what had happened, what was currently happening, what was not being stopped when she asked for it to be stopped, and what is this? And why do I feel weird, dirty, alone? Why do I feel like something's wrong with me? So that's her trying to process what we know as a label, what she doesn't understand. So you got that, and I think it just became, I don't know how it could have not become, but like I said, it's affecting Grant too. So what's going on here at school is affecting him that terribly. I really don't know what to say other than I need to think about this. I've worried about it since she was 5. So, I worry about today, I worry about tomorrow, and Lord willing, I worry about when she's 40 or 50.
They don't disagree she's been molested, but they are saying you have no right to talk about it till you're an adult, and she better deal with the fact her dad is welcome on campus. How this isn't a crime is beyond me. Probably one of the main major conflicting stories is that in July, August, and September of 2020, Aaron claimed that he was in the parking lot first, and Grant pulled up beside him. Aaron sees Grant get out of his truck, but then goes and looks at an email. But in court in the fall of 2020, Aaron was called to the stand in Gracie's restraining order case against him. When the attorney started asking questions about Grant's death, Aaron said that he and Grant just happened to meet up in Goodlettsville on Veterans Boulevard and followed each other. That Aaron followed Grant, and Grant went in first and parked, and then Aaron parked. As for Grant's death, State Attorney General Blanton has called the parking lot where Grant died a crime scene. How can the scene of a 2020 accident be called a crime scene by the State Attorney General in 2022 if they don't believe a crime was ever committed? The AG said there still isn't enough evidence to investigate Grant's death further. In addition, the AG, in writing, also called it a homicide in the talking notes he sent to Governor Bill Lee regarding Grant's death. The DA told Angie that they couldn't investigate further without the smoking gun, Grant's truck, which was in Aaron's possession. Aaron wouldn't release the truck to Angie and kept making excuses when asked about it. He drove it for 7 months before secretly selling it at an auction. Angie and a friend finally found it at a junkyard and bought it. They then had a forensic examination done on the truck, something Aaron had refused. Forensics showed the truck was not totaled as Aaron had claimed. Moreover, the private investigation provided evidence that Aaron committed insurance fraud. The black box in the truck reportedly proves without a shadow of a doubt that the truck did not go out of gear, and it proves that someone drove the truck forward into the ditch. There was a small amount of blood under the truck, but no blood was found in the parking lot where he began supposedly being dragged by the truck to the ditch. It's been 2.5 years since Grant suspiciously died, and 1.5 years since Gracie went public with serious allegations, and nothing has been done. Corrupt Williamson County has repeatedly put Gracie and Grant in danger by allowing Aaron to have custody. Shame on you, Williamson County. Shame on you. It's time this county is investigated by the FBI and the people in charge are removed from their positions and the power they have abused is revoked. As a final note, the pastor who helped cover up the abuse left Grace Chapel in the summer of 2021, and the church of 6,000 members split. In 2022, that same pastor was given a tribute by Senator Bill Hagerty for the Congressional Record. Senator Hagerty was born and raised in Gallatin, Tennessee, and formed a law enforcement coalition with Gallatin Police Department Chief Don Bandy. Chief Bandy was in charge of the officers at the scene of Grant's death. When you look at who has the power to open Grant Solomon's case or keep it closed and the direct connections they have to the case and Aaron, it is much easier to see how he has gotten away with this. Grant's loved ones have created a petition at change.org. Let's demand the investigation of Aaron Solomon and get Gracie, Grant, and Angie some long overdue justice.
Hello there. Yeah, they do. We need Sheriff Grady Judd for truth, for real. Proof. I'm trying to type something in there. Aaron Solomon. Okay. That is Justice for Grant. So I think I'll go on this. I'm not sure whether I did this one already. Let me get this. Let me get this further back right here. And I will, because this is important too. This is more on the video where they also have.
Okay, so his feet were down the other way?
Angled back like that. So the wheels, neither of these tires were on him. But I don't know if the back ones had run over him. I don't know. You know, I don't, because I didn't actually see everything happen.
His tires were in front of him.
Correct.
Okay, so you're saying that he was laying right here, and then he angled that way.
Well, just slightly
Okay, wait.
that
So
way.
okay, no.
Because if
So
he were like straight across, it might have been.
no, just say
it was-
Grant is long and straight right here. So instead of being long and
Right.
straight,
No,
he's
it's more
long
like-
and.
No, so he is like.
Oh God, you don't have to do
Well,
this.
I know, but I'm trying to, like an angle like this. So not straight across, not.
But behind that tire right there.
Yes, exactly.
So he was the legs would have been coming out over here.
Right. So. And so remember what I tried to explain. Is
Okay, so I'm just trying to get this clear because my mind, I can't sleep at night because of this. That's why I'm videoing because I'm gonna have to listen to this again because I can't process right now. So his head was where was his head was on that side of the tires. Up there, you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, and then his body angled this way.
He's angled almost straight across, but slightly across like this. So these wheels, neither wheel was on him, but that part I think was I think his chest and abdomen area was trapped by the axle, I believe. So this is actually.
How would you know the axle was on him?
Because that's the area. Because that's where. Because of where his head was. And
Where were the rocks?
All right, so this is actually a decent example of how. So WPI is up here. Then the parking lot is kind of like this.
Yeah.
And then at the edge of the parking lot, it's just like this, a ditch that's steeper than this, down, and then it goes back up. And so down in here is those rocks.
Okay.
On a little bit of both sides. And then here's 109. So what had happened is the truck actually comes down this, and you can see, I think the bumper got damaged probably when it
ducked.
like there.
Yeah,
yes,
that
but
makes sense.
with the force was so much, the truck, when it settled, was actually, the front was kind of against that side of the ditch, and the back end was actually stuck up on almost the shoulder of 109. So
that's why the front end was tilted a little bit back down.
Yes.
And that's why
truck,
what was laying on him.
Yes. So the heavy part of the truck is on his end. Also, it's extremely unstable. As soon as they hopped out, they had stabilization things for the back and jacks for the front, so they could jack it up without it rolling forward on top of him more. Because the truck had actually settled, just like the truck came down through here, and then it was actually, the front end was against that side of the ditch, and the back end was almost sticking up. And 109's right here. The shoulder of 109 is like right there. So,
Aaron, would it be okay if I start the truck and let it roll? Is it okay with you? I don't want to overstep my bounds. I just can't understand how this. I mean, I can because my truck does it too, but
Look at all
I
this
just
trash.
want to feel it. I just want to understand.
well, I know, so do I. I mean, I don't.
Like nobody understands.
No, I know. I can't either. I mean, none of it, it all defies.
Let's first.
See, right now I have the parking brake on. It's a foot parking brake, so it's not one that you pull up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Can you?
you know.
Can you start it and then put it
But
in drive and just
could
see
you
how
not
fast
see
it
his
rolls?
head on that side when you come down the hill?
Not at the very beginning, because at first, I'm not thinking worst case scenario at the very beginning. At first, when I got out of my car thinking, oh my gosh, and I look around the parking lot and I don't see him, I start coming down this hill, and first I'm looking through the windshield to see if he had hopped back in by chance, because I don't see him standing up out here. So then I'm like, well, maybe he got back in somehow, and I don't see him in, and so I'm above the hill, and this is the front end's at the bottom of the ditch, and I look down, and I don't see his entire body, because I see his red shirt and his head over here because he's angled that way. So I know that I I know he wasn't covered by wheels up front, neither his head nor his feet, but he wasn't perfectly perpendicular. He was at a little bit of an angle, but still.
Were his feet sticking out? I'm just asking questions that don't matter, but were they sticking out over here, or were they just...
Yeah, I mean, they had to be. They had to be, because mine would be sticking out. I was more in the front of it, and I'm calling 911 immediately, and I'm probably, you know, kind of this far at the top of the ditch on this side of it, at the edge of the parking lot. And literally, because I'm, you know, people are like, man, you need to sit down because you're...
Yeah, but did nobody try right then to get the truck off of him?
A couple guys, they were afraid, like, because if you try to move this and it rolls, it wasn't stable. It wasn't stable. So it could have, you know, there weren't enough of us. It would have taken 20 dudes, maybe, to try to and move him and pick it up.
And
so
you never got down there to his head?
Not all the I never made it all the way down here like this. I'm on the phone trying to give the
But he was
dispatch.
How do you know he wasn't making sounds? Or
well, because two dudes came and they I mean, I could see that he was unconscious, and I could see that he wasn't moving his mouth. And I was close enough to see that, and they said he was not moaning, or I mean, there was no sounds. They could see the two guys that had the construction dudes, whatever they were. They stopped and they were trying to help and assess, and they said he was unconscious, and they just saw a little bit of blood coming
so there's
out.
stories everywhere, like everywhere. Even that Gracie was with him. I mean, no, they've gone that far, but there's stories out there that he was. This was one I heard today, that he was talking to them.
No.
Well, wait a minute. And when they lifted the truck off, because the pressure was off of him.
So say that. Can y'all hear me okay? I bet y'all can hear me good. Put a 1 if you can hear me, please. Can you hear me? Okay. The additional investigation reveals Aaron Solomon likely killed his son, Grant. Okay. Anglican Watch has spent the last several years investigating evidence in the death of Grant Solomon. For those just visiting the site for the first time, Grant died at age 18 in Gallatin, Tennessee, after allegedly being dragged by his truck. The circumstances are highly questionable, and his father Aaron was the only witness. Thus, many believe that Aaron killed his son. Our conclusion: Aaron killed Grant. In our investigation, we reviewed the forensic examination of Grant's truck, photos, statements from witnesses, and more. In doing so, we drew on the expertise of several coroners, accident reconstruction experts, insurance adjusters, trauma physicians, and police officers. There were 4 universal conclusions, with none of our experts expressing any doubt as to the accuracy of these conclusions. The first, Grant was not dragged by his truck. Number 2, the fatal head injury Grant sustained did not occur in the parking lot. Number 3, the most likely perpetrator was Aaron. Another person may have assisted him. When we heard the video, there was a woman's voice in the background too, which I showed earlier, that she was saying that she's going to be in a business with Aaron. So it's probably her. Mrs. Lynch. 4. While it's impossible to assess Aaron's mental health without an in-person examination, the record shows that his behavior is consistent over time, suggesting an individual with narcissistic personality disorder and anti-personality disorder. We'll go through these conclusions in order. Allegations that Grant was dragged by his truck. On this issue, none of the evidence supports this conclusion. This includes the medical records which reveal no injuries consistent with the outcome. Similarly, an examination of the truck does not support this conclusion. And the black box, the electric control unit in the truck, reveals that the truck was driven to its resting point above Grant, with the black box recording steering, braking, and the truck in drive versus park or neutral. Here is a printout from the black box with highlighted parts in red. It records everything in the final 5 seconds before the so-called accident. Vehicle speed, and that's where it went up to like 14.3 miles. Okay, accelerator pedal 12.5. The accelerator pedal said it was at 33.0. See that? Like somebody was pushing the accelerator, see? The accelerator pedal 33.0. Y'all see that? It's recorded in a black box, y'all. 33.0. Steering input degrees. It started out as negative 48, and then it went to negative. There was a negative 313, 328, all that to a negative 76.5. So somebody was steering it. Shift position. All that was drive. It did not go in reverse, y'all. It recorded it as in drive. Y'all see that? It's the black box in his vehicle and Grant's vehicle. Drive. And why these police officers and everything won't do nothing about this and won't do a thing? They got the proof. Well, they got in the black box. They got the evidence right here. Why ain't they going to do nothing else? They got the stuff. Why aren't they going to do anything? Exactly. Because they're all in cahoots, evidently. Them being with the senators and all that. Eric must have something on them. Since he's a pedophile and doing all that kind of stuff, he must have something on them big time. Because according to that other thing, that they got evidence that he was into trafficking also. So it makes you wonder whether or not he's got that on them, about them being trafficking as well. You know what I'm saying? Vehicle speed increased from 3.7 miles per hour to 14.3 miles per hour. Accelerated pedal percentage increases, indicating the driver is accelerating. Steering input changes, indicating a driver is steering the vehicle. Vehicle shift position indicates the transmission was in drive, which is D. That is not reverse. Reverse would be R, okay? There's no way that that truck backed up. Like I said, he had no drag marks on his body whatsoever either. The CDR data is not consistent with the manner in which the event occurred. Truck forensic report data highlighted in red is key information and reveals that the truck did not roll. The data above reveals that the truck was in drive the entire time and someone was steering it. The truck came to rest when someone applied the brakes. So it showed, it recorded somebody actually in the vehicle put the brakes on, and the truck was also in park. So guess what? That shows somebody was in the vehicle. Examiners also noted that Grant's cell phone and glasses were found near him. The cell phone was undamaged at the time, but damaged after Aaron returned it. Strangely, Aaron knew the whereabouts of Grant's phone following the latter's death, which of course we went over that a while ago. Miss Lynch had the phone. The girlfriend had done that Live 360, and she found out where the phone was, and then she called. And like, how did you find out, basically, and everything? No, don't call the police about us having a phone over here. Don't call the police. Don't do that. And then they brought it to girlfriend or the mom or whoever. They brought it to someone over there that was complaining about them having it. This time they went ahead and busted the screen where they could not look at the stuff inside of it. While these may seem like minor reference points, they have immense significance in this situation. Why? Because loose objects in a dragging accident quickly separate from the victim, even when in pockets. Moreover, glasses are usually found at the point of impact, not 60 feet away, where Grant was when EMS technicians found him. Moreover, as noted previously, photos of the parking lot and grassy area above the ditch reveal no evidence supporting Aaron's claim of a dragging accident. Yes, the grass would be lying down. It would have tire treads. It would have tire marks where the vehicle went through. It did not have any of that. Nor do the medical records reveal the bruises seen when a vehicle dragged someone. There's no cuts or scratches. Even his shoes were not even scratched up. So there was no dragging accidents. In that scenario, there should be two sets of bruises, one at the height of the bumper or at the point where the vehicle struck the victim, the other at the multiple points where the victim struck the pavement. They are usually extensive given the force of even a slow-moving vehicle. Thus, the absence of these bruises on Grant makes it impossible that he was dragged by the truck. Head injury. We've covered this topic extensively, so we won't rehash all the data. Suffice it to say, the cause of death was almost certainly Grant's head injury and the resultant blood loss, which he ended up having a heart attack because he wasn't getting enough blood flow. Based on the medical records, we identified Grant's head injury as the only significant injury. In this context, bruises on Grant's face, hip, and waist are consistent with being struck from behind the head with a blunt object. Henceforth, the missing baseball bat, probably, because his main baseball bat that he had pride and joy in was missing. Possibly while bending over a low object like the front of a vehicle. It's saying possibly. The bruises indicate initial impact after being struck, followed by a second set of bruises when Grant fell to the pavement or another hard surface. But these bruises are not consistent with dragging, as they are too limited and not in the correct locations. Again, none of this data is consistent with Aaron's depiction of events. The likely perpetrator was Aaron. Next, we come to the issue of who likely killed Grant. On this score, we concluded that Aaron is the most likely subject. In addition to being the only person on the scene, several secondary issues support the notion that Aaron is the culprit. These issues include alleged variations in Aaron's depiction of events over time. See, he just turned 18 years old, so he was about to go to court against his daddy, against Aaron, and let it be known and stand up for his sister Gracie about what the daddy had done to Gracie. His refusal to go to Grant while remaining at the top of the hill. His claims that several people were on the scene. There's no evidence to support this claim. And to the extent anyone else was on the scene, that person would likely have been a participant in the attack on Grant versus a bystander. His retention of Grant's truck, followed by a seemingly fraudulent effort to offload it, which plus there was an insurance guy who claimed and went ahead with the thing and claimed that it was totaled, yet it wasn't totaled. And thanks to Grant's mom finding it and getting it out of that junkyard and having this tested, that's how they ended up with this. I guess they didn't speculate for doing that. His retention of Grant's truck, followed by a seemingly fraudulent effort to offload it. Grant's baseball bat, the weapon likely used, has never been recovered. Aaron's claim that Grant went to the rear of his vehicle before it started to roll is entirely unsupported by the evidence. Aaron's alleged statement against interest in which in front of witnesses he stated that he killed his son. What? Did y'all say that? Aaron's alleged statement against interest in which in front of witnesses he stated that he killed his son? He actually did? What? And he's getting away? Also, because there was no blood in the parking lot, Grant was assaulted elsewhere on the property or at a remote location. Both of these scenarios make it likely that a second person was involved, for Grant would have not been able to drive his truck to the scene following the attack. Also, as we discuss in a moment, Aaron's behavior over time, as described by his family and third parties, is consistent and evinces someone, likely both a narcissist and a sociopath. Wow. Aaron's mental health. On this issue, it's important to note that diagnosing someone absent in-person meetings and specialized training is impossible, and domestic relations is an ugly area of the law where in the best of circumstances, parties are too close to the matter at hand to be impartial and things get spectacularly ugly. But we reviewed various reports from Aaron's family, social workers, third parties, and a consistent portrait emerged. This portrait includes multiple indices of narcissistic personality disorder, including an uncanny ability to tell people what they want to hear, tremendous charm when seeking narcissistic supply, seeing children as extensions of himself there to meet his needs with little other interest. In Gracie's case, this extends to sexual gratification. In Grant's case, it was a vicarious recognition Aaron received for Grant's athletic success and expectations that Grant would play professional baseball, something Grant did not want to do. He focuses on appearance. He's got a sense of entitlement, narcissistic rages, an utter lack of empathy manifesting an indifference to the welfare of others, an inability to maintain close, lasting relationships, utter contempt of those in the narcissist discard phase when the narcissist no longer has any use for the person. Yeah, he didn't have use for him because his son was about to go to court on him and about to file charges and get his daddy good for messing with his sister. Similarly, we identified multiple indices on antisocial personality disorder history to the late Danny Moss. The preferred term was versus sociopathy. These factors include inability to seem innocent and guileless, an ability to lie readily on the spur of the moment to suit the person's needs at that time, a history of violence and intimidation to control others. Like we've seen that when he was intimidating Gracie. She didn't want to go with him. Machiavellianism, an utter lack of an underlying moral or ethical reference point, careful concealment of deeply held biases against others based on race, religion, sexual orientation, or other factors, ability to manipulate perceptions of third parties, lack of adherence to social norms and laws, including allegations by Grant that Aaron accessed both adult and child porn while on the home computer, which Grant described as foul. See that? Aaron accessed both adult and child porn. You see that? And they're letting this pedophile get around and keep doing this? Given Aaron's track record of violence towards his wife, son, and daughter, including his attempt to kill his wife, we conclude that his behavior and likely multiple personality disorders increase the likelihood that Aaron murdered his son. Yet, note that we are not posting specifics from various reports by Child Protective Services and others to afford Angie and Gracie privacy, but we are confident that the information supports our conclusion. We also note that Child Protective Services concluded that Aaron was sexually abusing Gracie, and the details we have seen support that conclusion. And yet, the judge still gave Aaron Gracie. They still did. We therefore stand with Angie and Gracie and call on Tennessee officials to open an investigation into Grant Solomon's death, as well as the reasons Gallatin Police Department and attorneys for the state are sandbagging the issue. Any inquiry should include the following. The judges are corrupt. Judge Deanna Johnson and her husband, Senator Jack Johnson, goes to that same church with Aaron. And also, Governor Bill Lee goes to that church as well. And there's a whole mixture. And they're saying it's okay if somebody goes against you to go and retaliate towards them. That's what that church is speaking of. So, with that preacher saying that, I think they should go after him also because he basically was coaching them to tell him to take retaliation. You know what I'm saying? He can be found out too for doing that, right? Okay, an inquiry should include the following. A review of Aaron's conduct towards family members, an evaluation of Aaron's veracity, including a review of his shifting explanations as to the circumstances of Grant's death, a request for a polygraph examination by Aaron, a review of his conduct towards his family, including past allegations of physical violence, an evaluation of black box data from Grant's truck, a forensic examination of Grant's remains, a warranted search of Aaron's home, email, computers, and internet activity, interviews with Aaron's co-workers and colleagues, an interview of former Grace Chapel pastor Stephen Berger, interviews with hospital and EMS personnel who cared for Grant in his final moments, a forensic psychological exam of Aaron. In closing, our standard disclaimer to the inevitable lawyers: these are all allegations and our conclusions are based on the limited set of data. But we believe Angie and Gracie and see no reason to doubt them, and we welcome any evidence, not unsupported conclusions, but evidence to the contrary. Finally, we say that without any doubt or reservation, we believe that Aaron murdered Grant, sexually abused his daughter, and engaged in emotional, verbal, and physical violence towards Angie, Grant, and Gracie. It's time to act. So, like I was saying earlier, too, like the Senator Jack Johnson, he tried to pass an act, a law, so that no one would be able to get the FOIA results from the Grant Solomon case. He was trying to cover it up, saying, well, if there's no criminal investigation ongoing, we could seal the records and nobody could be able to look into it and try to get anybody for what was done. So I blame Senator Jack Johnson for it too as well, since he wanted to cover up the evidence where it could not be looked into further. And I blame Governor Bill Lee. He goes to that church. He's part of it as well. Senator Jack Johnson, who's let a pedophile that raped a 3-year-old child in a Sunday school. A teenager that raped a 3-year-old. Without merit, he said. So guess what? He did not have to pay for raping a 3-year-old. These 6 boys that was at another school at Brentwood Academy in Franklin, Tennessee, where Judge Deanna said, oh, there's no merit there, so they shouldn't have to pay for the crime. This list goes on and on with this corruption. They're continuing to let these people perpetrate and hurt our kids. They're going and letting Aaron Solomon still going to the school and to the PE and letting him take pictures of the girls that's playing PE. And you know in PE the girls are dressed in whatever kind of dresses that they wear at a Christian school. And then I heard he actually goes to Facebook and then tries to message them. He tries to get with them. But these kids aren't safe. How are we going to protect the kids? They're still being violated. They're still letting it go on. They're still letting it happen. What are we going to do, y'all? What seriously are we going to do about it? I think they all need to be held accountable. With that, I thank y'all for your time and attention. This has been a lengthy one. It's been over 3 hours. But I really wanted to get to the gist and meat and potatoes of it all. And I want to thank y'all for being here. And God bless y'all so much. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. God bless y'all. Please pass the word on.